What's up? Oh, you didn't add me to the stage. Welcome. I am your host, Bob Mata. You are now here at Defense Diaries, and this is our continuing coverage of the state of Indiana versus Richard Allen. We are day 4 of the trial. Another exciting day in court. A lot went down. It was no Allie today. It was me solo. And just a little bit of a primer. I was late. I was late to court. I got shut out for the first witness. Well, the end of the first witness, as he had started yesterday. And so I didn't make it in there. I ran into a little construction issue this morning. It sent me on a different path, and I had never taken it. And so I make this turn onto 421, and there's this big lake, and this is a bridge that happens to go across it. I get all the way down, a couple miles down. Doesn't show up on my GPS that there's construction, and the road's closed. I'm like, oh my God. So I try to take another road. My GPS, Waze, Google is not showing me any alternate routes. I get lost. I drive down into a dead end. I'm like, oh my God, we're never going to make it on time. So I ended up making it to the court at about 10 after 9. And once witness is on the stand, there's no getting in. And she has changed it. She changed the rules. It used to be you could go in every time a new witness was taking the stand. You could go in while they were changing. Now she has changed it to you only get in when there's a break. So I wasn't overly concerned with it because, to be honest with you, I felt pretty confident all we were going to be seeing was the continuation of Olehy, and he was basically going to be putting in the physical evidence, which we had heard and seen all the photographs of yesterday. So, it wasn't the end of the world, really. It was, but I heard that Rosie did a pretty good cross-examination of her. And luckily, I got friends. Andrea was kind enough to send me her notes. I'm like, I only want Rosie's cross-examination. So before I do that, I should probably introduce my beautiful, brilliant co-host, Allie. What's up, babe?
Hey, babe. Hey, all.
How are you? As you guys can see, I tried to move to a kind of a more cozy situation. The lighting's a little weird. We have we bought a light for Allie when she was here. She left it for me, but it looks cozier, right? It's better than kind of sitting in the kitchen with a blank wall behind me.
And
right?
I'm in the comfort of my standard operating studio, so I don't have to fidget with my hair a lot and mess with anything. Everything's just.
Yeah, don't let the trolls get to you.
No, but I was noticing, I think I do it when I'm nervous or,
I mean, the weird thing is, it's people must not have met me. I mean, you come at my wife we're gonna have a problem. You can come with me all day. You come with my wife, we're gonna have a problem.
Gonna
I'm
have
just
a
telling you
problem.
that. So don't do it.
So what'd you kinda do? You, like, moved into, like, the little
I
TV
moved into
den
the living
area?
room area. I reshifted one of the comfort chairs here. I moved a little table into like it's actually a candle holder, but I put a couple game boards under it, like a thick Jeopardy game and the Scrabble Deluxe edition that we were contemplating battling each other.
Mhm.
Put those under the computer to lift it at about the right eye level. But like you can kind of see this weird shadow. It's because the light doesn't go up any higher than that. So, but like it's much more comfortable. Like I'm in a really nice, comfortable seat. I think the sound is good and it's good. It's a good little setup. This is going to be my setup moving forward. So as I said, I was late today, but Andrea Burkhardt was nice enough to send me all her notes, and I am going to. She sent me all of them. Like I just want the cross examination, but she was kind enough to send them all to me. She
That's
took.
good. You can see if there's something
Well,
needs
her
fixed.
writing is immaculate. So, like right there, I wish I could just pay her to buy her notes every day. That would be awesome. So that I don't have to do it. Yeah, don't worry there. I did rearrange it, but it's literally a shifting of one chair about 4 feet, and that's about it. And moving this little thing. It'll look like when I leave, it'll be put right back the way it was. Very
You did
simple.
some construction,
I did, yeah. I put up a few shelves,
Right.
created like a new closet area. It's pretty cool. But really, the reason that I did it, aside from changing the location, is I wanted to try to hook up to the Ethernet, which I did. So hopefully, we have a nice strong signal because we are a little remote. Okay, so we are day 4. Like I said, it was Olehy was continuing under direct. And I see questions. We will definitely get to them. I promise. I promise. Today was an exciting day. Today was a day I wish that you were there. I think you would have enjoyed the day. They continue, and right now, what they're doing is, in terms of this testimony, they're getting into the process of entering all of the physical evidence, which we saw the photographs of yesterday, into evidence. So, like the actual shirts, the actual bandana, the actual camisole, all that stuff. They want to put the physical evidence into evidence as well, which is a different process than putting a picture in. All right, so everything is given a case ID for individual incident under which all reports can be referred to. So the reports, sub reports, lab reports can all have a reference number. We're obviously used to that, Allison, in terms of EV numbers is what we typically call them. And it's kind of they use their own management system in terms of file management. So everything that you're going to be looking at, but those EV numbers are different than the numbers that they're getting obviously at trial. So they're kind of going numerically. McClellan jumps around a little bit, so does the defense as far as points of evidence. Oh, before I jump into that, uh, Allison and I talked, and we thought that it would probably behoove us to just clarify how I have a reserved seat in the courtroom every day through the end of trial. So like this constant thing of wondering whether or not I'm going to be in there. I'm in there through the end. So and just so there's no confusion because no one knows my business, and unless I make it their business, if people ask me, I tell them. But Kathy Allen had requested that I sit in one of her seats because I think that she's listened to our content over the past couple of years. I think that she finds Allison and I to be very objective. This isn't a thing where because Kathy Allen has all the faith in the world that her husband's innocent, but she doesn't know she's in the exact same position that we are. And she thought that she was going to be excluded from the courtroom uh, right after openings, like as soon as they started putting witnesses, is because Kathy is scheduled to testify. She's a witness on the list. She's going to be testifying at trial, so she would be beholden to the separation agreement. Now, obviously, discussions were probably had between defense counsel and uh, McClellan and the state, and they tried to work something out because she's been in there. That doesn't
Right,
mean
we
that
were surprised that she was she was
I'm
there.
still surprised. I ask her every day. I'm like, are you still in here? So, she had asked me, she's like, look, I just, obviously if she's testifying, I can't come out and tell her what people are testifying to because that would
Until after she's released from her
until
subpoena.
after she's released. And but when at which point she'd be sitting in there anyway. But what I told her is I'm going to give you the straight dope. It's going to be good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything because a lot of times when you have a client like our account, like Allie and I have a client, and we're trying to deal with their families. Number one, we have privilege and confidentiality with our clients. We can't really tell their families anything. And then when you move to the point where you're at trial, you're trying to be optimistic for the families
Right, so
because
she didn't want the overly optimistic view once her subpoena was over of what had transpired. Um,
exactly. Like I mean, she just wanted an honest evaluation of how the case was going from a couple of people that do it and have done it for a long time and who she respects and trusts. I mean, it's kind of that simple. So, and I've explained this a million times. If you don't think that Richard Allen's mother and his wife, Kathy, are victims in this, I mean, they're obviously different than Libby and Abby clearly, and they're obviously different types of victims than the families, but their lives have been destroyed and they are destroyed. I would estimate permanently, whether he's found guilty or innocent. If he's found guilty, they're obviously destroyed, and they're gonna have to try to rebuild somewhere, with the knowledge that he's now convicted, and either he did it and he's a killer, or that he's innocent in there and he's trying to fight to get his way out. Or in the alternative, if he's acquitted, the people that think that he's guilty don't care what juries have to say. They don't care that he's been acquitted. They're gonna like their whole life, everything that they once knew for these 20, 30 years that they've been married has been destroyed by this case. And if that was Richard Allen's fault, that's what we're here to see. If it wasn't, and he sits in there an innocent man, well, then I would hope that everybody out there would have sympathy for her either way, for both of those women, because they're going through it. So I have a lot of respect for both of them. I think that they're both um, very strong women who are kind of powering through an unthinkable situation. So
and like Bob said, and this will be the last of it, and we're done with it, the Allen family does not know all the evidence. That's not something they're privy to. So if they were, um, excluded from the courtroom, and then once their subpoena was over, they still wouldn't know any of that information. So,
right.
that's why he says they're just like us as far as hearing the evidence for
Yeah,
the
they don't
first
know
time
they
now.
don't know anything. Like, they
Yeah.
honestly don't know anything. There's, like we don't share like, when we have cases, we are not sharing our client's case with his family, no matter how much they wanna know. We can't like, it's just not how it's done, and everything, especially in a case where there's a gag. I mean, they can't go talk to Kathy because she's not their client. So and it's a case that's gagged, which would include and I mean, there's a couple
I
of
mean, there's a
orders on
certain
it which they
extent,
just
yeah.
can't talk about it. So,
Alright.
she's in the same place. Wait, there was one other thing I wanted to say. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it'll come to me. So, all right, let's get into it a bit. Okay, so the first thing that they entered into evidence was item number 137, which is a bag containing a black and white Nike size 10, recovered from Deer Creek, collected at the scene. Sergeant Cody had it in the drying room and he packaged it. And the sticker indicates that it has been entered in the lab system. 138 was a bag containing a pair of Hollister blue jeans, waist 26, length 33 from Deer Creek. 139 is a bag containing a color tone brand tie-dye t-shirt, size extra large. 140 is a bag with gray, no boundaries hoodie, size medium. 141 is a pair of underwear from Deer Creek. 142 is a black and purple sock. We were both wrong from Deer Creek. Oh, no, 143, pink sock from Deer
Ah.
Creek.
See,
Wow.
memory is a crazy thing. I was sure it was orange.
Yeah.
And I wanna ask you, and sorry, because maybe you don't know or maybe you're gonna get to it, but before I forget, and it was a question that one of our viewers had asked. I took a little screenshot of it, so I remembered who asked it. It was Hannah-201. She says, "Were Abby's shoes she was wearing wet also?" I don't remember them talking about that.
I don't remember them talking about it either. I don't know that it was asked.
Hmm.
So, like, I kind of had this weird vision that if they did in fact cross the creek, that the killer may have told them to take off their shoes and or at least take off their shoes because like kind of like wet shoes are hard to walk in. I don't know. I don't that like popped in my head. I don't know why. All right, so 144 was a green headscarf. 145 was a bag, black faded spaghetti strap shirt, size large from Deer Creek, also known as the camisole, also known as a tank top. One item collected from Ground Zero, Lafayette, was brought to the Lafayette Post. Um, okay, so 146 is a Converse right tennis shoe. 147 is the Converse shoe left from Abby. 148 is a 40 caliber Smith and Wesson cartridge. Now that's kind of when you look at the EV numbers, it it's kind of helpful because a lot of times when they're putting when you see like the evidence markers at a scene, they're going at it kind of numerically. So as they find evidence around the house, so I mean that's kind of a pretty good indicator that they're being forthcoming about when they discovered it, kind of in the scope of things. Somewhere in that time frame. It's like it's not jammed in at the end. Like if you see it and it's got like, well, actually, I take that all back. This is for trial anyway. Could be like we'd have to see what the actual EV number is.
Oh, man. I was
But
like, 'cause I didn't
like
see any little whatchamacallity, my brain's I can't think, like lab evidence markers, at
yeah,
the scene or
right.
anything. But the
There,
lab
there, there
usually
were a
does number
few.
stuff as it comes in. The
There was
lab will
no,
give its own number.
there was none relating to the uh, casing, to the unspent round. They didn't have an evidence marker for that. All right, so 149 was a strand of material taken from between the fingers of Abby's right hand.
Material.
They called it material. And so 150 is a strand of material taken from Abby's left arm. So 151 is a swab from the inside of Libby's left wrist. 152 is a swab from the inside of Libby's right wrist. 153, and we're talking about buccal swabs for DNA. 153 was a swab from above Libby's belly button. 154 was a swab of the thigh above the knee of Libby. 155 was a strand of fibrous material from the pinky finger of Libby's left hand.
Fibrous material from Libby's left hand.
156, a swab of a blood stain on a tree, 4 inches above ground level. 157, black Nike tennis shoes under Abby's body. 158, a swab from blood on the ground between markers 3 and 4. 159, a swab from the ground near Libby's feet. 160, a swab from the ground directly below Libby's head. 161, a swab from the ground near the F tree. 162, swab from the ground between F tree and Abby's body. 163, swab of red stain below Abby's head. 164, swab from F tree with red stains. First thing I couldn't read. Near the top of the north side of the tree. 165, swab from red stain on the F tree, lower stain on the north side. 166, swab from the left index finger of Libby. 167, swab from the left pinky finger of Libby. 168, cell phone, iPhone from scene under Abby's body. 169, Sergeant Gilbert collected swab from the swab from the cell phone before processing. I was going to ask, did they swab the cell phone? Okay, so and then he was in attendance on 215 in Terre Haute for the autopsy. Limited people have access to the temporary storage locker, which is where they maintained all these materials, all this evidence. Gilbert swabbed the phone before he handed it to the tech. On 216, they completed sealing, labeling, packaging, completing property record, and then gave them to the evidence clerk. All items were packaged individually. Stickers were applied one at a time. We get back to more evidence, and this is from the autopsy. So Olehy was at the autopsy. That is not unusual. You typically have an evidence tech. You typically have, I don't know if there was any fingerprinting, T. I'm trying to read. She had another word here. So cell phone, it says that, I want to get back. Swabbed. Yeah, I can't read it. I don't. It's definitely a swab. I don't see anything about pulling prints, but that doesn't mean it wasn't done. I would hope that it was done. It would seem crazy that it wasn't, but okay. So again, you'll typically have an evidence tech. Obviously, if they're collecting, anything that would have been found under the fingernails, if there's, any kind of other indication that there could be biological materials that aren't from one of the girls, they obviously want to be there. Any kind of evidence, if they find fibers, hairs, anything like that, they need to collect it from the autopsy itself. So 170 was a swab from the left thigh of Libby. 171 was a swab from the right thigh of Libby. 172 was a swab from Libby's right breast. 173 was a swab from Libby's left breast. 174 was, and just so people know, the sexual assault collection kit, also known as the R kit. 175, the sexual assault collection kit from Libby, or SA. 176, trace fiber of Abby's upper left arm. Mullins collected stuff for drying. 177, black hooded sweatshirt, 2x 2XL. Delphi swim team had red stains. 178, blue jeans size XL with red stains and dirt. 179, pink sleeveless shirt, unknown size with stains. 180, gray cotton bra with stains, black bra with stains. 123, and that was 180, 181. Now we go back to 123. Abby autopsy photo showing pink sleeveless shirt, red stained areas, and lines indicating moisture wetness. Sweatshirt was damp on 214 and still damp the following day at the autopsy. They went in to Putnamville for drying. The cartridge, also known as the Winchester Smith & Wesson 40 caliber. So there was a that was all in 123. No, not the most common round anywhere. So that was obviously asked. 151 swab from Libby's left wrist. Okay, 152 Libby's right wrist. Okay. 153 from the belly button swab. 154 area above knee. 155 tree swab. Okay.
Babe, can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah.
I was just noticing comments. Did the judge rule on the motion in limine about the expert, or is that something you're going to get to later?
She has not ruled on it as far as we are aware.
Okay.
Okay, so Andrea has. So okay, I'm sorry. We're now in the cross. Okay, so that this makes way more sense. So Rosie asks, obviously, is this one of the most common rounds anywhere? 40 caliber Smith & Wesson. He says no, not the most common round anywhere. So 151 in relation to the swab from Libby's left wrist, not Rick Allen's DNA. 152 Libby's right wrist, not Rick Allen's. They didn't find his DNA there. The belly button swab, not Rick Allen. Above the knee, not Rick Allen. Tree swab, not Rick Allen. Swab between the markers, not Rick Allen. Swab from the ground. Objection. Speaking, the witness did not analyze. It was overruled. Objection relevance. Doesn't matter if he's aware or sustained. Ever speak of anyone involved in analysis concerning results. He says, I don't recall that. There's another objection to relevance because he says, are there any more results regarding info at the scene? And then McClelland objects, saying relevance. Rosie is angry. It's highly relevant. Judge maybe says maybe for another witness, sustained. Integrity of the scene, investigation are distinct. Doesn't want the scene info flowing out of the scene. Other side is physical integrity of the evidence. And then he's objected to, he interrupted, aware of information for breach of integrity. Crime scene, objection, relevance. So it looks like Nick was pretty active with the objections here. No knowledge of the photos taken in the scene and leaked. So Rosie had asked a question, obviously, about, and he had brought it up. He had talked about some leaked photos early on that were taken by civilians. Okay, so this was a thing, like as soon as I walked in and I could get in after the break, Andrea came up to me. She's like, oh my God, there was this thing where they went in and because Rosie has a tendency to ask, his kind of like opening salvo for cross is, would you agree as a statement of the counsel's opinion? So McClelland objected. He says, it's like, we don't care about his opinion. Like and Rosie's not saying, would you agree with me? He's like, would you agree? It's like, it's used all the time.
All
It's
the time.
it's the
Standard
exact same
operating
thing. Yeah,
procedure.
it's the exact same thing as saying correct at the end. Correct? It's just like she sustained it. So she then directed the defense so they could no longer say any of them could say, would you agree with at the
What?
opening of a hand to God?
What?
Hand to God.
I don't understand.
Hand to God.
And wait, his argument was, we don't care. What? I am so baffled. Did she get, well, you weren't there. Did Andrea give you any, like, did the judge elaborate at all? It's like, what?
No, there was like just this kind of argument that McClelland was insinuating or arguing that Rosie was injecting his own personal opinion when he says, would you agree? As if he's saying that I agree. Like, well, I agree with this. So, like, the assumption is since he's saying, "Would you agree?" That means that you're agreeing with me because I think that that in fact is true.
But like you said, Bob, that is the exact same thing as if I were to say, "Well, it was a really sunny day that day, correct?
Correct.
Wouldn't you agree it was a sunny day that day?"
That's
It's
right.
what sorry, guys. This is
Yeah,
baffling.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
See, and this is
Um,
what lawyers get all,
Worked
fired
up
up about.
about.
That's why Andrea's coming up to Bob and saying it. By the way, the notes Bob is reading, and I know you said that, it's Andrea Burkhart. She also has a YouTube, and one of the other lawyers covering this. You gotta get your, info from multiple sources at this type of thing. We got lawyer Lee out there, we got Andrea Burkhart, and we
Yep.
got my man about town, Bobby Mata,
Hi there. Okay, so
as
there was
far
a
as lawyers.
question about that this was unique that one girl was naked. So this is that difficult path that the defense has to try to weave through this minefield of not being able to mention the word ritualistic. Like,
Wouldn't you agree that might be hard for them?
ma'am, objection. We don't need your but you know what I'm saying in terms of them trying to get these question asks about asked about what the crime scene looked like, and obviously all these cops have been prepped by McClelland and the state at this point. Like, look, if he goes anywhere near like any kind of ritual talk, any kind of Norse pagan talk, you don't say a word and let me handle it. I'll object because he can't say shit.
Why is the judge allowing that? And, why is the defense I think at
Wait,
this point,
why
the
is he
defense
like?
should
I mean,
object.
wait, what? They
So
can
you're saying that McClellan chimes in when it's someone else's.
Oh no, no. This
Oh,
is a conversation he has with these cop witnesses when they're testifying about what the crime scene looked like.
oh, okay, and I'm sorry, guys, because yesterday Bob told us how it was, uh, Luttrell's direct examination. He called the witness, and during the defense's cross-examination, McClellan stood up and objected, so my mind went there again.
So he asked the question that this crime scene was unique. That's the word he landed on. That there was one girl that was naked, there was one girl dressed, sticks appeared to be placed, and then he assumed that it was an attempt at concealment. That was his answer. So he stuck with this ridiculous concept that these 4 or 5 sticks that were clearly placed intentionally in these designs were for concealment. It's such a disingenuous answer. I have no idea if it had anything to do with the ritual or not. But when you look at it and you're being just intellectually honest, you can't say that those were being used to try to conceal the girls. It's just and I've seen people like, well, he was running out of time. Then why wouldn't he have it doesn't make any sense why he put 3 or 4 sticks on one and then 3 or 4 sticks on the other.
I've got to chime in about this running out of time thing. I've been tweeting
And
about
why
it.
wouldn't if he was trying to conceal, why wouldn't he have just tried to see if he could get the girls in the river, like deep enough into the middle where maybe they float downstream or they sink. I mean,
It
it's
gets
just
them
as good
away
as
from
leaving
him.
them right. I mean, the fact of the matter is he left them in the wide open. I mean, obviously they're in a wooded area, but I mean they're not hidden.
Right, and like you're saying, if you were to be put them in the water based on the flow, at least from what we showed it, I think 2 lives ago, the water was flowing very strong that day. Thank you, Dizzy. Um, and whoever actually, talked to Dizzy about that, I can't remember if she told me, but in any event, that would have given the killer or killers time to get out of that area nonchalantly because the bodies would be somewhere else by the time they were found, and they wouldn't be looking right directly there. And then to me, the other thing about this interrupted and rushing for time. So you've got, as far as I see it, you've got 2 possibilities, right? They go down the hill and now actually I had Sleuthly reread me notes from the openings, because your notes are there. Now I don't have them to see, because you did say to me that McClellan said before they crossed the river that's when he was interrupted. So she read me back notes that she had, and it says that the state said he was he was interrupted. Then they crossed the creek. Then they crossed the creek. So you get two possibilities. One, they crossed the creek naked and were told to hold their clothes, or the killer held their clothes. Okay. We know all the clothes make it across. All right. So there's no question there. Option two, they went over dressed. They get over. Now you've been interrupted and scared. You're having them get undressed. Either way, you're putting Abby needs to walk barefoot once she's over there, because we saw that, and that even their state said, the witness said her shoes were off at some point. She had to be dressed into Libby's pants. She had to be redressed, and then they had to be all the things that took place there, the murder, the blood, all the things, whatever happened there, then placed in the manner that they were placed, and then whatever it is, if it sticks, placed on them, or whether or not they're arranged, they are still placed on them. It's so much time to do all of that. That's not someone who's interrupted. And if you're interrupted from committing an SA, why is the person redressed already? It makes zero sense to me how the argument that someone got interrupted and then spent all that time on the other side of the of the creek, it just doesn't make any sense. And again, this is all while the dad's out there searching, calling the kids names. He gets there at 3:11 is when he's pulling up, 3:11. He gets out like 3:15. Those are the three, either two phone calls or two texts. I don't have my notes in front of me right this second, but I do remember those times. And then the family's showing up, and then they're calling AT&T, and they're walking around, and they're driving around, and they're looking. And they're coming up and they're coming up, you know, around the cemetery area. So, and don't forget, I forget what time it was exactly. And I think Sleuthy reminded me today. I think she said it was 1:57 that Sarah says she saw the man
Whoa.
walking on 300 North. So now he's already up there. It's, I don't know, interrupted, and then all that stuff happens. Just doesn't make sense.
I agree with everything you said. I almost heard all of it too. It was good. Kidding, baby. All right. Okay, so let's see. We were going through so the integrity of the crime scene, the investigation, again, are distinct. They don't want the scene info flowing out of the scene itself. Other side is the physical integrity of the evidence itself. He objects. Obviously, he thought that Rosie interrupted him during his answer. Is he aware of the info regarding the breach of the integrity of the crime scene? Objection, relevance, overruled. The witness answers no knowledge of photos taken at the scene and leaked. So if you remember, Allie, I had told you that Rosie had asked the very first cop witness that question about these crime scene photos that were out there. Theoretically, what we're talking about is it could have been the civilian searchers who originally find the girls. I mean, if they're taking pictures, which I can't imagine they did, but people do all kinds of shit.
That
So
Pat Brown, to me, I think you weren't there that day. Okay, so that was Saturday.
right.
I do remember him being like very choked up. I actually spoke to him in the hall.
Mhm.
He kept saying that he stood by the girls until the police came with his back towards them. Look, I don't know these players. I don't know the neighborhood. I don't know.
He seemed like a good citizen, though.
He
Looks like a
did
good
to
guy.
me, but people that live local may have a completely different opinion. And when I spoke to him, he seemed honestly kind of shooken up. I just didn't get the sense that he'd be the type that would be like snapping secret pictures of the girls and then not, You know what, like secretly sharing them with the townspeople? I don't know.
Right. Um, okay, so then we get to so uh so there's another objection because Rosie, who it is his habit, probably for 25 years of trying cases, starts his sentence with, "Would you agree?" And so he objects as a statement of the council's opinion. Gall sustains it again. Um, all right, so then we get to let's see. Okay. Okay, so we were at the portion where he was talking about the uniqueness of the scene, right? I didn't see any significance of the positioning of the sticks. Olehy says very little parts of the bodies were concealed. He concedes that at least. They were not very covered. They didn't discover if the sticks were cut. Ah, good question. We had heard if the sticks have been cut, we know that they don't collect them until March 3rd. Because remember, we had somebody asking last night about whether or not there was any talk of the cut sticks that looked like they had been sawed. So he didn't know. He was told to go back and collect the sticks. He doesn't know if it happened more than once in terms of going to collect the sticks. Because this concept that they go back weeks later after the crime scene is no longer secured and is everyone has access to it, and you've got everybody and their mother that's trying to solve this case, that's an armchair detective or some kind of web sleuth who's out there and they're wandering around on private property looking for clues. I mean, to sit there and think that those sticks were left there where Paige put them and then no one gathered it. I mean, even Kurt, our PI and my friend was like, "Hey man, he's like, you want to go out to Logan's property and find those sticks?" And
I
then I
wanna
go,
ask you, did you happen to see my text about asking Barbara McDonald to look closely at the crime scene picture to see if the whatever sticks or twigs were near Abby's head, if they were attached to the ground, if it was stuff that was attached to the ground, if it was stuff that was loose? Did you see that text by before the end of the day?
I didn't. So, was that something that I missed today? Was there some kind of like word that there actually were some sticks by her head?
No, I just know that people have been saying that, and what I was thinking was, like, they were laying all over sticks,
Right.
like, so I was thinking once they rolled her over, if you could have if there was a picture with a better image of what was near her head, and if it was something just loose that could
Well,
have been placed, whether it was or wasn't, or
they
was it
didn't
like she
show.
was laying on something
I mean, are you
longer?
asking if, like, when she reviewed some of the crime scene photos out of court?
Yeah, like, when they get the
Yeah,
opportunity to review
I'll
the
ask her. I'll ask her.
maybe if there I don't know if there'll be any more or if she's gonna remember,
Oh, yeah, and I mean, she's gonna have a better view, like,
R
but it's done. Like, they're like,
right. I
oh,
was
there's
I
no
was
going
hoping
back.
today. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we didn't get any more crime scene photos of the victims
So it
today.
would have been had to been yesterday. Darn it. Okay.
Correct. Okay, so he then asks about items on Abby. Okay, and he says one had to be, and I'm assuming one had the name German on it. He assumed it belonged to Libby or the family. Sizing was more consistent with Libby, too large for Abby, with the jeans and the sweatshirt. So this is obviously discussing the fact that Abby was clothed in Libby's clothes. So that was a logical assumption.
But the sweatshirts they were both wearing were Kelsey's, right?
The swimming sweatshirt was definitely Kelsey's, but she wasn't wearing it. Libby was, or Abby was. So like that's what we're saying. We know that Kelsey gave Libby the sweatshirt in the car because she like wasn't properly dressed and
I
was
think
worried.
she gave them both sweatshirts.
No, she gave
Oh,
Abby
right.
a zip up
A
fleece
zip up. Sorry, yes. So that resolves that Abby is wearing Libby's clothing.
for sure. So uh It also
or
says
some of it.
there, the logical assumption that Libby was disrobed and Abby dressed with those clothes. No info about when or where those events occurred. So you have to imagine, Andrea didn't write down the questions, but you can envision what they are by the answers because we have the answers. I do the same thing. Like I'm not sitting here trying to write down because when I hear it, I remember it so that when I'm referencing what the answer was, I'll always remember what the question was. So one large stick appeared to have been moved um, from an indentation near the body. Okay. So no analysis of the type of tree that that large limb came from. Shoe impressions found. Okay, so Andrea had a note that she started. This helps defense with search, likely to find bodies. So shoe impressions found near ground zero, uh, banks near Deer Creek, average or very large search in general area. No effort to find the source of the shoe print. One had similarities to one of the shoes recovered. We heard a little bit about this. This was a partial print, and the shoes had different characteristics uh, on the soles, and they took photos, but they didn't take an imprint. No good substance. No good substances or fingerprints on the sticks and the clothes. They're not good sources for prints. That's why they didn't take any prints off the sticks or the clothes. Nothing at the High Bridge of value. The F tree with the blood on it. The area of the red stain on the tree, vertical line of marking appears to be pretty straight. I never used a compass or a ruler to determine an angle. It appears to be a large area of transfer contact with blood. So they've now all adopted uh, their blood their blood spatter expert or their blood stain expert's opinion who was hired in the spring because that's his theory is that it was a large area of blood transfer, not spatter itself. That's where his theory, and I'm talking about the state's expert who is yet to have testified to this point, but will be testifying. His theory is that once Libby's throat had been damaged, that like she went to go cover it, and that's how the hands got filled, and that she went to that tree, which is known as the F tree, and then like probably tried to stabilize herself, and her hand slid down, and then she fell into a sitting position, and then that's where you get maybe like slumped over like this, and that's where you get the droplets on the thigh. That was his theory that we heard back in July and August. He didn't have anyone examine the mark on the tree. It was photographed, but thinks uh, it wasn't preserved. So he's aware of blood spatter expert was contacted just this year. That's who I was just talking about. They were available back in 2017, yet they didn't hire one. Um, for lab export standards, or they don't qualify. So possible blood spatter expert could have helped determine the timeline. Isn't that correct? Wouldn't you agree that a possible blood spatter expert could have helped determine the timeline?
Wait, they
How
let that "wouldn't you agree" sneak by?
now
Oh, showing how it's the very same question.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah, how blood might move if a person is clothed. Again, scavengers, no disturbances to the bodies, no outside factors. They can be useful in giving a range of times. So this is along the same lines of questioning that Rosie conducted when he was crossing the first CSI guy, like talking, getting into the scavenger animals. And if the girls had been out there for 11, 12 hours overnight, isn't it likely that a scavenger animal may have come over and started to nibble on them if they were there for that period of time? Um, he says those can be useful in giving a range of times for time of death. Said he couldn't determine the time of death. It's a very imprecise science. Objection to the word agree. Again, attorney's opinion is irrelevant. Sustained. Because he asked, do you agree? She still sustained it. And so he spoke with the dive team members, but not sure if the measurements, if they ever measured the depth of the river or the creek. It's not a flat bottom. It's 2 to 2.5 feet to 3 feet deep in some areas. The north shoreline appeared to be deeper. Okay, no determination that the people moved on the shoreline on the north side. Is there anything unusual? Is there anything unusual about finding an unspent cartridge in a wooded lot in Indiana? So he's implying that a lot of gun owners, like, is it crazy to think that you'd find an unspent casing just like laying around? I mean, people drop bullets, I'm sure, pretty consistently.
Their witness yesterday, if it was yesterday, I'm getting all my days confused, said this was prime hunting area.
Right. And so his answer to that question, is there anything unusual to finding an unspent cartridge in a wood lot in Indiana? And he says, well, it's more likely you'd find shotgun or hunting round, not a handgun round.
Oh, I guess that makes sense with what I just said too.
Right, but I don't necessarily know that's true. I think that people fire their handguns all the time, target practice on their land, shoot trees, all kinds of stuff. Like he said it's not really unusual to find a round anywhere in the state of Indiana. It would be unusual for me to shoot guns on others' property, though. He said people in county have guns and they shoot them, but they wouldn't be surprised if they did it in the woods. He owns a Sig Sauer himself, the witness, but it's not a 40 caliber. Different platforms in his two guns. He didn't know about the manufacturer systems inside the gun only generally. And then the left side of the area of debris where items were collected, one can conclude that items would have come from upstream. Don't know who or how they were discarded. Knows 300 north relative to the crime scene. He was never asked to search any area north of the rock.
North of the rock?
Yeah, there was a rock.
Oh, right, the rocks in the water. Got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not aware of any trail system search that took place. Search anywhere near the Hoosier Heartland? No.
So I realized why they were asking people, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, did you check behind the Hoosier building? Did anyone tell you that they might have reason to believe that the killer went behind the building? Because if the killer was coming from the cemetery area and going to the CPS building, they would have to have passed the camera on the Hoosier Harvest Store building. So
Yeah,
the only way that Sarah Koberger sees the killer, but
Harbaugh.
Carbaugh.
Wow. you just
Wow,
turned
now
it
I got
into a
Koberger.
potential serial killer.
Carbaugh sees the killer, and the killer has to go to the CPS building is if they walk right past that camera.
Yeah, I know. And so today, actually, speaking of that, we saw a picture of Hoosier Harvest, and Steve Mullins was called back to the stand, who you saw on Saturday. He was on there for a different reason today, and he described where the camera is. So there's a really long building because somebody told us on the silo. That's not correct. It's not on the silo. There's a camera on there's a long, kind of thin building, and there's a walkway, and there's a camera there, and it catches kind of just like a section of 300. So, because it's really used for the property itself, but it just happens to catch the road. Okay.
And the Hoover Harvest Store is not an actual store. It's like a
private. I felt like we were on private property.
well, that's a different spot. So So that was what was confusing me about the maps that I talked about on a live you weren't here on,
Mm.
that, um, I think it was Sleuthy and I, because I was like, "I'm telling you that I was on 500 drive or road, whatever it is. There's no way that that thing led to 300." So, we were saying maybe it moved, and I think Dizzy asked the same, like, could it have moved? So Sleuthy did a little digging, and she found a post in 2019 for people coming, that they had job openings for the Hoover Harvest store, and to come to 300 North 300 Road, to that address right there. So it's on the other side of the mayor's farm, closer towards the Freedom Bridge.
So we were on the wrong property.
We were on their we were at the actual place where the business is itself. That might be an office over there. It might be it might have been an old spot that they had. I don't know if so, but it was the place that in 2019 they were holding, um, having interested employees come to, but the address of the actual place is on, um, the 500 where we were, and, I guess they sell farm type stuff, so it's not like some place where people go and they're shopping. Not that kinda store. Are you muted? You're not muted, but your sound is out.
I accidentally touched my mic.
Oh,
Okay, so
okay.
yeah, and like we went, we, like we just didn't see it, and then
Alright, I'm gonna let Nanook in because he's begging, but I took him out because he started barking, so he's getting his second chance right now.
did you take him for a walk today?
I didn't. I told him, although he doesn't know I told him that I'm gonna take him when we're done, just me
Man,
and him.
he misses daddy. I'll tell
He
you that.
does. When I got here, he stood by the the door the garage door hoping that you were gonna come in next. You can let Nanook in.
I miss my kids, my dog.
Yeah, they miss
Okay.
you.
Um, so he's asked you. So Olehy says, I don't even know where the CPS building is. And then he shows him States Exhibit 5. I did search areas north of Road 300 North in the weeks afterward in Monticello. What? Not in an area immediately north of the road in this photo. It said there's a farmhouse just north of the High Bridge Trail that runs by there. He doesn't know about the trail connector. He didn't search it. So 148, which is a image of the magic bullet. That's what Andrea called it. Objection, irrelevant. Uh, oh, that's what Rosie called it, was the magic bullet. So obviously McClellan took exception to that. He's like, irrelevant, and he's calling it the magic bullet. Judge, your characterization is improper, sir. 6 7 photos of the bullet at the scene. There's no more, no photos of the unspent
Wait,
round in
the
the ground.
judge said the words, "Your characterization is improper, sir," as opposed to just
Yeah,
sustaining the objection.
well, Andrea wrote it down, so I'm
Well,
assuming
yeah, so
she said it.
clearly, right. Wow.
So no photos of the unspent round in the ground after it was removed. Objection, asked and answered, sustained. No photos of the ground where the unspent casing was removed. I believe that parts of the scene showed it. Not aware of a detailed area where bullet was found. No, let me see. What is it? This looks like no plot of bullet. Oh, no photo of the bullet in its true state after the round was removed. Would you agree that it would be helpful? Objection. Improper question. Sustained for would you agree? That must have been so annoying. Don't particularly wish that he had taken more photos of the round. So he asked him, don't you think it would have been a good idea? So he says, not really. I'm good. I'm good. Like, why cops are doing this? I don't know. I don't know.
They can't help themselves.
Yeah, no, like truth and transparency. You obviously weren't here last night. My notes were on fire, sis. All right, so don't particularly wish that he had taken more photos of the rounds. Having individual in the photo was potentially unprofessional. Place it in a separate area is better. Somebody's holding the sock. Is that unprofessional? He says, not my preferred method. Inspected Libby's wrist area for defensive wounds, none on her body. One ammo collected at ground zero. The crime scene was packaged. Documentation and preservation of items is most important. Okay, so then we've got, and then he talks about Stacy Boznowski. She's the DNA analyst. Her initials are SB. If not fully sealed, items would be rejected by the lab. They're still coming at, like, they went at Brad with the would you agree thing. And you guys have to understand, it's like when you've been doing this for so long, trying cases, there's just terms of phrase that you use all the time without even thinking of it.
Right, and as we've sort of said, Andy has a softer style. So that's a softer approach than, you know, it was this way, correct? It's just a softer approach, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's his, like you said, that's his style. Like,
Yeah, what's his face? What's his face in Reed used would you agree all the time? Or he would say you would agree. He would say he was even more, he was like, you would agree. And then he'd ask the question. It's commonplace. It's the exact same as saying correct at the end of the sentence. So, is it common question to change gloves during evidence collection of different items? So I think this is a jury question. I think uh, yeah, that's it. So these are jury questions, which are very, very good. So the jury asked, like, all of their questions are so on point. Like like it has to give you, like, for both sides, you have to feel very, very comforted by the fact that this jury is asking such good questions. They're paying attention. They're smart. So they asked, is it common to change gloves during evidence collection of different items? Very good question. And the answer to that was yes, absolutely. Was the bullet collected in an envelope or a pill box? And the answer was never removed from the initial packaging. So that doesn't really answer it, but we were told a pill box initially. What identifies where the item was resealed? It says yes, it's resealed and initialed by a lab analyst. Items are handled similarly, and long track handling of items. And there's a log track of it, handling of the items. Haven't seen a chain of custody log, not unusual for me not to see it. So then we got the recess, and
just want
then
to comment for people so they know that that is not the real Michael Osbrook, nor is what he's saying correct. But thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate it.
so the next guy was Brian Bunner, another Indiana State Police.
How
And
insulting.
Andrew was very excited that one of the witnesses finally spelled their last name. She did it with an exclamation point. They're not good about it. And I'll tell you, McClelland missed huge amounts, and we talked about this last night, of where he would fail to say what evidence EV number it was, what exhibit number it was. It's brutal. He was much better at it today. So Brian Bunner, ISP.
Wait, so that was it for you got all the jury questions?
Yeah, that was it. Those are the couple few. So Brian Bunner, he's the digital forensics program guy. So exhibit 185 was his CV, his resume.
Hey,
It looked like I don't think she thought that I'd made it. All right, so I'm going to switch to my notes, which are going to be much harder to read. Okay. All right, so okay, he's a cell phone forensics guy. He will examine computers, drone footage, phones, hard drives, flash drives, and he will dabble in network intrusion. And so he's basically their digital device guy. He uses programs such as Cellubrite, Axiom. He's done hundreds, if not thousands, of examinations. And his examination in this particular situation was the phone, the device itself. So his process is when he has an object or a device that he's going to examine, first he does an exterior examination. He'll photograph it. He'll note the apps on the phone. He'll choose an extraction software, which is based on the phone type. He says that there's some, Cellubrite works better with some phones other than others, other than other types of phones, such as like Apple and Droids. It may extract things better from certain things from Apple better than it does from Droid, and vice versa. Or there's software that just works better with uh, other phones or devices or computers. So then he's re-asked about the external examination. So how do you know? This is the questioning from McClellan. How do you know what software to use with a device? And he kind of goes through a long, drawn out explanation that really wasn't an answer. It says it depends on the device. Different software, you know, sometimes works better with different devices. It's basically like that's what my answer would be. Like a guy who doesn't know anything about it. He says the raw data, and then so this is the question, McClelland. He wanted to back up and he wanted to explain this process. He's like, all right, so when you pull raw data from a phone, it's just in the form of ones and zeros, right? It's raw data is then run through the software. And at that point, a report is created. And then once it's run through the software, and it's usually in HTML format, and he says that it can retrieve text messages, photos, calls, app usage. Sometimes it'll give you messaging from apps, not always. And he said in 2017, out of the cybercrime unit in Indy, the investigators were told that the phone was recovered. This is how he came to be into this case. And then this guy, Larry Moat, an ISP investigator, delivered the phone to him on 2/15 of 17. Because we know that the still shot of Bridge Guy was going to be showing was out in the public within a couple of days of the girls being discovered. So he did a manual examination of the exterior of the phone. Uh, McClellan then put five or six things into evidence. Actually, it was 13. So like picture of manila envelope, a bunch of kind of not important stuff. Property record receipt, 180 and 188 and 199 were actual pictures of the phone, front and back. 190 through 119, the case with it on, the backside of the phone with it off. He said that Libby's phone was an Apple iPhone 6S. Exhibit 192 was a SIM card. 193, 194 was a pic of a screen lock and a pic of the unlocked phone. So those two were those two pics. He said when he received the phone that it was dead. He said that he was provided with the code by the family, so he was able to open it once he recharged it. So then photos 195 were the settings. He went into the settings. He went to the name of the phone. It was called Liberty's iPhone. 196 was the settings, again in the iCloud. Then he gave her iCloud address, which was liberty.german@icloud.com. And then 197 was a photograph of her Apple ID. And then 198 was the screenshot of the setting for iMessages, which can be attached to either a phone or a computer. So you can get your messages, iMessages on your phone or your computer or a tablet. And then he goes, Exhibit 206 was a picture of the general app settings, which he was interested in finding the time zone. The time zone was set to America, Indiana, Eastern Standard Time. Found out that it was an AT&T phone, and that it's AT&T that, in fact, that is where the time and date comes from, AT&T proper. So if you're ever wondering where your time and your date comes from, it is always from your provider, your service provider. Okay, so after the physical examination, the data was extracted. He used Cellubrite. He uses Cellubrite daily. Cellubrite retrieves, and it depends on the model, but it can get contacts, messages, voicemail, internet history, photos, text messages. And he used what they call the method one technique. And when when he was asked what it was, he's like, I don't really know what it is. And then he says the answer. But at the time, in 2017, it was the only method available. And then, so once the extraction was done, he said, "Did you look at the extraction?" And he says, "Yeah, but it was a report that was several hundred-page long, so I kind of just like peeked through it, and then I kind of handed the whole thing over to the investigators. I wanted to get the phone back to him as soon as possible." So he did not go through it. He did not go through it thoroughly, the entire report and date and the data, because it was voluminous, and he really did want to get it back to the cops quickly. He said that he looked at a bit of the data. That's a quote. He looked for what would be deemed important. Did he look at the camera roll? Yes. And he said the timeline showed a video was taken within the past couple of days. And he said, "What was that?" He said it was the last activity on the phone. And he says, "Oh, a video was taken." So I knew as soon as this guy came on, I leaned next to, there was actually a reporter next to me. I was like, "Oh, we're getting to see the video."
Who said the words, "It was the last activity on the phone"? The expert?
The witness, yeah. So it was the phone that the video was taken on. I kept telling everybody, as soon as I said as soon as he said what he was, I knew we were getting to see the phone, like the video, the 43-second video. And so it says he finds the video, and the timestamp on it is 2:13 p.m. on 2/13 of 17. Kind of ironic. Last activity on the phone is on the date, 2:13 at 2:13. Once you viewed the video, you sent it out. You sent it with Moat and Chapman for AV enhancements, and then he took screenshots. So evidence EV 201 through 205, they were admitted, and then he brings. At this point, he brings the photos up as he's wont to do. He brings them up to the witnesses. Take a look at these. Like the fact that they don't show everything on the big screen, super annoying to me. It's like half and half. Like half the stuff, like they always show videos up there, but there was a day with it kind of tells you what their mindset is. The only thing that they showed consistently up there were the gruesome crime scene photos, big as all get out. You know what I mean? Like, and all this stuff is just printed on printer paper, color printer, and then they hand it up to the witness, and we don't get to see what it is. So, but 201 through 205 were admitted into evidence, and they were still photos that were taken from the video. And so then he kind of goes, he's like, "All right, well, we're going to go back to that." And then, so once he got so after he had given the phone back, they then gave it back to him. He got it back in order to try to get more data off the phone. He used some different programs, this lantern, this block light, this magnet axiom, and this iCloud backup. He was trying to dig more. Didn't find anything else. So the second time, he didn't get any new data. September 5th, 2017, got a third phone extraction, and he used logical as opposed to advanced logical. So there's different tiers of searches that you can use. And he used logical. He says it's new tech, any kind of loot. And they asked him why he did it so many times, because the answer is, when you get new tech, it could lead to new evidence. It could find things that weren't available earlier. So all he found was new information that was not relevant. And he had mentioned that he didn't know anything about the case. So I was curious how he would determine what's relevant and what's not if he doesn't know anything about the case. They unfortunately did not ask that question.
I mean, I guess he could determine what was forensically relevant regardless of the facts, right?
Right. Maybe. Maybe
Oh,
not.
Nook's challenging me over there. He's about to get booted out of my area.
Oh boy. Okay, so the phone was examined a fourth time by Chris Cecil, who's the current guy. Chris Cecil is the guy, and that was in 2017. So on October 12th of 2017, then this is the cross by Auger. And so on the third extraction, which was October 12th of 2017, they used the method 3 extraction, which was the new. So
The
that was
new.
the new. So they're hoping they get that. That's really digging. That's where you're gonna get all the deets, like phone battery information, all the deep stuff. It's deep into the phone. And that was actually performed by Homeland Security / Customs. That third one, they didn't find anything new. September 5th of 2017, phone. She's going back to the different searches. September 5th, 2017, the phone was sent off. Extraction didn't result in any new findings. And then so she brings up Exhibit 186, which is a post-it note. She's just busting his balls. She's like, "Oh, is that how your normal routine for your chain of custody?" And then McClelland objects. He says, "Hey, we stipulated this." And she's like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot we stipulated to it," meaning that they had allowed this particular report to come in without him having to lay a foundation and show a chain of custody. So then she asked him a question. You're not certified for Cellubrite, are you? He says, "No, I'm not." And then she asked him about the advanced logical extraction on 2/15 of 2017. She was catching him on a couple little things that I don't really think were that significant. And and then she asked the follow-up question. She says, advanced logical extraction and just a logical extraction are distinct, aren't they? And he says, yes, they are. So then she brings up defendant's exhibit M, and it's the front page of a PDF extraction report. And she says, what does it say? What does it say you used? Because he had already testified that he used advanced logical extraction. So she caught him in a little mishap. He's like, it says logical method. That's what I used. So it was a slight impeachment. And then she asked if you can do a full file system extraction method too. He said not, he couldn't do it in February of 2017. Well, she said, what about in October of 2017? Method 2 was done. He's like, are you saying that you didn't have the capacity to do it? He's like, we didn't know it existed. She's like, what do you mean? He's like, we didn't know it existed. It's like every forensic data guy on the planet, we didn't know it was a thing. And so then she goes into this knowledge C database. And again, he says, we did not know about knowledge C database in 2017. And she says, well, just because you didn't know about it doesn't mean that it didn't exist, right? And he says, yeah, right, I guess, yeah. So then she shows defendant's exhibit A, which is the Monon High Bridge, and then photos of Abby and Libby. So there was data associated with the video, yes. Sally Bright, you got a map video dump. So after, I should have said, so basically once they got the video into evidence, we watched it. And this is the video that they obviously pulled that short footage from, which has obviously been enhanced. You can tell by how blurry the guy is. And then I'm talking about Bridge Guy, and we have the audio. So the thing, when they first ran it, I'm like, man, that didn't seem like 43 seconds. And so the beginning of the video, it's a shot of, I'd say, Abby getting towards the end of the high bridge in terms of the bridge itself, the trestle. But I'd say she's probably like 12 to 15 yards away from Libby. So Libby then has a shot of her, and then the phone goes down and she's showing like some gravel on the side. She says, oh, and she's talking gently. She's like, oh, here's some gravel. And then she comes back up, and you can see that Abby's kind of jogging towards her. But like nobody seems panicked. And then she goes back to the ground. And she says, "Oh, she says, there is no path, but this is where we can go down." She's showing the side, like past where the bridge is. Tracks are still there, but then there's this kind of gravel area. I'm 95% certain that's what she says. And at the end of it, when I first heard it, I thought at the very end of the video, I thought I heard like a guy's voice, but I couldn't hear what he said. So the first thing that I'm thinking when I watch this video is that I didn't see Bridge Guy. Like where was he? Now I'm watching it on the big screen like we all were. Like I said a bunch of times, there's an 85-inch big screen in there. So I'm watching it. I'm like, I didn't even see the dude. And I asked somebody, like, because I think we took a break right around there. I'm like, did you? Oh, I almost injured a pregnant lady today. She was walking down for the break. She had and she's pretty pregnant, and she had like a really big pillow. And I was chatting with her, and I'm like, "Did you think that was 43 seconds long?" She's like, "Oh yeah, it was 43 seconds." I'm like, "Really?" And so she was carrying her big pillow like real low below her belly, and it was like, a comfort pillow for, like, what do they call, like a bump, like a boppy or whatever those things
Right, to
have.
support her stomach while she's sitting all day.
Yeah, well, or her butt, like some
Okay.
really big. So at any rate, the thing had like tags, like really long tags, like hanging down, and I didn't see it. And like she was a step in front of me, and I accidentally stepped on the tag. So luckily she was at the bottom of the stairs, and she like starts to fall forward, and I like grab her, but she gets down and she hits her knees. So yeah, it's like, oh, I'm sure there's gonna be some creator out there that's gonna say I tried to push nice pregnant lady down the stairs. I
He's
felt so
always
bad. I'm like,
beating up
oh, I'm so
children and
sorry.
pregnant ladies.
Yeah. Um,
Wait, but
okay,
I had a
so
question, but then
wait,
you
so like I want to finish my thoughts and then you ask away like on the video itself. So but I don't see Bridge Guy like from the first view, and they don't show it again with this witness at any point. And Auger doesn't show it during cross. We see it one time quick, and I'm like, what the hell was Libby saying? I was like, I wanted him to play it a bunch of times. So we go out, and then so those are my first impressions. I'm like, I didn't really see Bridge Guy. Neither of the girls seemed panicked to me. They didn't seem like that they were like neither of them seemed concerned that this guy was chasing them or coming towards them. Like to me, in all honesty, if I'm kind of really trying to look at it from a intellectually honest way, like if I didn't have preconceived notions of what the state thought that they did, if I was just looking at this video for a first time, I wouldn't think that there was anything to it. Like I wouldn't think that there was any indicia of a kidnapping based on that video.
right, it's the timing of and I guess we might hear more when the defense starts putting on cellular data, but it's the timing of no more cell usage, no more messages that makes it you know, seem like the most logical conclusion is the person had something to do with the murders or that they were actually directing them down the hill. But when you and I first heard it, we were like, I mean, that could have been, and I think my example was something like, don't fall, guys, down the hill, or watch out down the hill, like, or don't go down the hill. Um,
Are you guys having a hard time hearing me? I'm a little further away from my mic than usual here. I'll move it. Is that better? Does that sound better?
I wasn't hearing it. I see that people are, just that there was one
My
comment about
connection should be good. Let me know if this is good. Yeah, I have a little bit of a different setup. I don't have a full table in front of me. So okay, good. Yeah, let me know in the chat if you guys.
but
So not
obviously, again, based on the timing, I just wanted to reiterate that it does seem the most likely, scenario would be that that person had something to do with, the red rum, but from what you're describing, it's like on the video itself, it almost if you knew nothing else, it would look like that person was, like it was nothing.
right. Yeah. So I- like here's my like, and I'm gonna save this thought what my impression was until after we get the guy, because I was telling everybody, like, well, they're going to obviously put the guy who enhanced the video and the picture and the audio. He's going to be next. Was my prediction, and it was correct, because I'm like, there's no way they're not going to show the enhanced video.
Oh, so they did?
Yeah, but like I'm not going to get there yet. So,
Mm.
so the kind of like the one thing that was interesting about this is that Auger goes up to him with. She asks, there was data associated with this video, correct? He says yes, and he's like, and she asks, well, Cellubrite can map a video, meaning that it can show where a video geographically was taken, correct? And he says, yes. And so she goes up to him. She says, I'm sharing defendant's M. And this map shows longitude and latitude, does it not? And he says, yes, it appears to. And she says, that's actually nowhere near the bridge, is it? He says, well, no, it appears to be about a mile away from the bridge. And it looks like it's at the Memorial Park. So Abby and Libby Memorial Park, I'm assuming. And she hands him the map. She's like, okay, sir, I want you to circle and initial where the longitude and latitude on that map, because like this is back when they're going to deliberate. She's done that a couple of times where she's had a witness mark up an exhibit with circling something that she thinks is relevant and important, and then she has the witness initial it in order to kind of trigger. It's a good little evidence trick. And so his answer is it's nowhere near the bridge. He says it's somewhere in Delphi. So she says, well, did you point that out to investigators? The fact that the video doesn't appear to match up where it says that it was filmed? He says, no, I didn't. And then so she gets into iMessaging, and he asks, that depends on whether or not the phone was turned on. And it just says iMessaging, whether that toggle was turned on the phone. He says that's correct. And so she shows a bunch of exhibits of the photographs that he took, which was 195, 196, 197, 199. And he printed them in landscape form instead of portrait. Okay, so there's a bunch of stuff cut off at the bottom. And she says, well, there's a bunch of missing info, isn't there, on 195? He says, yeah, there is. She's like, that could have been important, right? He's like, maybe. And same with the 196, 197, 199, all of them were taken in, these screen grabs were taking in landscape mode, which is weird. If you think
Very weird
about
that he didn't just print the report
it. Right.
instead of doing a screen grab of his report.
Right. And it's like you and I both know that when you get like the original Cellubrite report is not in the fashion that you see it when they typically give you the report that the forensic guy prepares for law enforcement to look at. That's like a very diluted down version of the raw data that the Cellubrite software has put out, which, like this guy was saying, it's hundreds of pages long. So he's trying to call all the relevant data out, typically before the detectives get like a very watered down version of what the forensic guy deemed to be relevant to the case. That's what the cops and the detectives that are working the case get. So he then she keeps going a little bit, and so she starts trying to delve into iMessaging. And this was a wow moment for me. This is the second or third time that McClelland has, like in my estimation, flame thrown his own witness. So as soon as she starts asking about iMessages and like the ability for Cellubrite to be able to extract them, and for uh him to be able to start talking about it, McClelland tells the judge he wants to voir dire his witness on foundational issues. So he starts asking him, he's like, you really don't have any, you have a real lack of knowledge about iPhones. Isn't that true? He's like, you've never been trained in terms of specifically examining iPhones. He's like, yeah, that's correct. And the same with iMessaging, right? He's like, yeah, so it's like, you're not really qualified to talk about iPhones or iMessaging. I couldn't believe it. It's like Nick doesn't care. He's just like, he's like, I
Is
don't
this a
like
joke?
look.
I mean, I
Yeah.
can't
He's like, I
what?
don't want this guy talking about this shit, so I don't care if he's my witness. I'm gonna
You
basically
put
tell him
him
he,
on to talk about an iPhone data, a cellular extraction of an iPhone, and then said you don't really know anything about iPhones? How this
he's
circles back to what you said originally. How in the hell is he determining what is relevant if he doesn't know how an iPhone works?
exactly
What?
right.
That's even worse than not knowing the facts. Fine, don't know any of the facts, but at least know the product.
Right. So,
Wow.
so basically, they established that he isn't knowledgeable enough about iPhones or iMessages for to ask questions about it.
So the judge finds he's not competent to answer those questions.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I can't remember if they did like a brief sidebar, or if they just walked up to the bench and got kind of like a ruling on it. I think they walked up to the bench briefly. So then Auger asked, "Find my iPhone was enabled on the phone, correct?" And he says, "It appears it was."
Oh, he knows what that is at least.
Yeah, and then she says, "Find my iPhone," and so he objects and sustains it. I think it relates
And just
back
the
to
iPhone. He knows
right,
nothing about iPhones.
right. He doesn't know anything about that. And so she says, "Isn't it true that every time you,
Wait,
uh,
she's allowed to say, "Isn't it true?" Come on.
I may have just written that,
Oh,
like
okay.
that's my catchphrase.
Right. But I'm
My,
just saying, they're all that's all
it's all the
cross-examination
same shit.
phrasing.
It's definitely all the same shit. Yeah, you guys. I think I had my mic just a little too far. I was giving my little mic here a little too much love in terms of its pickup. But okay, so then at that point, she changes course. She asks that every time you plug a phone in, or I'm sorry, every time that you turn a phone on and off, it loses some data. Isn't that correct? And he says, yes, it is.
Except I wouldn't know as to an iPhone.
Right, except for iPhones. I don't know anything about that. Don't ask me. So on February 15th, when the phone was turned off, you lost some data, correct? Yes. On February 17th, when you turned the phone on and off, you lost a little bit of data, didn't you? Yes. October 11th, yes, of 2019, you lost data that you can never get back, correct? And he says that's correct. And then so she says when Find My iPhone is enabled, that means it's on, correct? And he says correct. So then the redirect, and then
Objection, he doesn't know about iPhones.
there's what's Find My iPhone? So McClellan redirects them, says, like, okay, so you've never received formal training from Cellubrite, but you've trained on the software. He's like, correct. But so the only difference is that you've just never gotten a piece of paper that says you're certified, but you received the exact same training on Cellubrite. He's like, yeah. I mean, the defense could have challenged him on it,
I
but
been screaming to you mostly, and I don't know. I'm not sure if like, I wasn't there when the defense listed their witness list. Why is the defense not having their own expert analyze the raw data of the phones, or at least something? They used a guy who's not even certified in Cellbrite and who's now said he doesn't know jack about iPhones. So he's not even competent to testify about what data an iPhone has, how you collect data from an iPhone, blah, 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 blah. And he also doesn't know shit about Celebrate.
Shinola. All right.
Shino.
So the redirect keeps going. So the GPS location in terms of the longitudinal and latitudinal uh that was basically that was not that accurate back in 2017. He says, well, it was just the general area of Delphi. He says when you start a video, um, and so he was trying to talk about like how when like if you start a Snapchat video and it's trying to give your geographic location, McClellan's saying it starts at like a macro level, right? And then as the longer the video's on, the more it closes in on your location. And this guy was saying that that's legit. I mean, I'm assuming like I don't know if that's true or not, but at this point, like they like so like I was screaming object. I'm like, what is the foundation? This guy has any knowledge to say that, and I'm like, they didn't object. I put object with triple exclamation points. So he says the GPS location. Do you know, as you sit here today, how accurate the data or the location is? And right, like he's guessing. He should have objected, you know. And he says,
Yes.
"Can you tell what the data? Can you tell what the data in terms of the latitude and longitude was, in terms of where the phone actually was?" He says, "No." And then on recross, he says in 2017, the only location data you had was the GPS coordinates were on our map, correct? And this is OJ asking. He says, "Yeah, that's right." And she said, "You mapped the video, but you mapped nothing else." And then later in 2024, Cecil found additional coordinates. So, and then she was done. And see, remember, Cecil's the guy currently, the one's currently in the digital forensics position right now. He'll be the one testifying. So, jury questions. Question one. Okay, so wait, I want to make sure I read this right.
I was gonna say you could always compare Andrea's.
No, she didn't. I only had her send me the first witness. I didn't ask
Oh,
for
I
all
thought
of
you
the
said
notes.
she sent you everything anyway.
Are you guys still having a hard time hearing me?
One
So,
person did,
oh, really?
but actually Spitfire's using earbuds, so I mean, just I guess move it a little closer.
I mean, I can. It's on the arm of a chair. Like that's what I'm saying. I don't have a
I
tape.
do hear you better when you faced it, but everyone's saying your sound's fine.
Can you guys hear me now?
No.
Hello? Hello? Yeah, well, I'm not gonna hold the mic. I need I don't have my arm. All right, so one of the jury questions was okay,
It was
so
Bob's
they asked
podcast
what is
voice.
the knowledge C database? Um and he said it's a screen by screen data from the phone because they kept talking about the knowledge C database, and he says it's what it really is it gives you like a much more finite, detailed breakdown and extraction of the phone screen by screen. Most of them, like everything preceding that, didn't. Oh, and then they asked on 213 on February 13th, what time was what time is shown on the map for the longitude and latitude as it being taken, and it was 2:13 p.m. So that was a question. They wanted to know if it matched up with the last activity where the longitude latitude is saying it was.
Wait, so what was 213?
The phone was used on 213 and the video was taken at 2:13 p.m. That's why I was saying that's strange, right?
Well, wait.
The girls died on 213 and the video was taken at 2:13 p.m. So the jury question was they hadn't given the answer what time the video was taken. So
So it
that's
was
the
at
question they
213.
PM, yeah. Okay, and then the question, so revolving around the knowledge C database, McClellan, he followed up. He's like, "You didn't know that existed, right?" He's like, "Correct." He's like, "Nobody knew. None of us in the field knew that was a thing, the knowledge C database." So question 3, they asked, was the report from October 17th from Indiana State Police or from Homeland Security? He said ultimately it came from ISP. Question 4, was knowledge C database provided by Homeland Security? And then his answer was yes, I believe so. But they still didn't find anything extra. And again, but that's a 2017. So like at that point, it's still a long time ago, and you guys know how tech moves. So we're light years beyond that at this point. They didn't know about it, and he said that Sally Bright didn't even know about the knowledge C database. Like that wasn't something that they were even aware of to add it to their software suite. And then I guess this witness kept talking about we. Who is we? I said it was the royal we. That's who. And he
All right,
says
you
no,
guys,
the whole
anybody
time.
who's still asking about the seat, it was not the defense the defense lawyers. Bob gave a whole description of how it came about in the beginning, so just rewind.
Yeah, just watch. Like Kathy Allen, and that's who
Right.
put
But
me in the seat. Had nothing to do with the defense. I mean, the defense writes the list for the the family. So, I mean, like that's it. Like, I mean, if anybody had the guts to ask me in person, like I would have given them an answer. Think about that.
It's so much more fun, though.
Yeah, I was just gonna let them keep being wrong forever.
I know.
Like
We were laughing,
Allison
but
was
let
like,
them just keep being
I
wrong.
was like, dude, just let them keep yapping, yapping, yapping. I'm like, I could care less. I could care. Like, I don't care. I could care. Like, why are you reporting on anything other than the trial? That's what you need to
Right,
think about.
right. So let's move on. Keep going, babe.
Yeah, I've been on Gray's show. Gray's always welcome to come over here. I'd love to flamethrow him. You tell him to come on over. He can come to my house, see if he wants to hang out. I answered all his questions. All right, so question 5. Are you aware of any deleted photos? No.
Your
Question
sound
6.
did just get a little low, babe,
All right. Really? It's
to
weird.
me.
All right, maybe I'll try sticking it here on my lap. How about that? Is that better?
Perfect.
Is it?
Yeah. No, you tapped something, you're muted.
All right, so does Snapchat save photos?
Great question. Nobody I can't believe that that wasn't something that either side brought
I
out.
know. It's crazy. No one asked about like when Snapchat we know because our kids use Snapchat that they share location with all their friends.
Yep.
And I keep talking about it. No one ever asked the question. I was asking like I saw Barb McDonald when I was eating lunch. I was alone, and then her and another reporter over there. Reporter was much younger. I'm like, you're young. I'm sure you use Snapchat. I'm like, I don't use it. I'm like,
I
but
agree, man.
like, do you know when the sharing of location came about on Snap? And she's like, I was trying to think about that the other day because I'm like, why isn't anyone asking whether or not the Snap location was shared? You know? And she's like, I think I was in college back in 2017, and that she thought that it came out later that year, like that feature on Snapchat where it shares your location.
Hmm.
All right, so then question 7, Memorial Park.
Wait, what the question 5 was we know the answer, like, do
Does
they
a
save it?
Snapchat save photos? You
Sure.
it's a setting. You
Stays for
can.
24 hours.
Well, no, there's actually I asked Cameron, our daughter, and you can save them. There's a feature where you can save them, or
Oh,
it'll shift it to your photos, but
but you have to
it'll
specifically set it.
yes, it's a setting.
And is that what the expert testified to as well? Or he says, "I don't know about Snapchat or iPhones."
He's like, I don't know what's Snapchat. So his answer is yes, I think that you can, but he didn't give any details. So question 7, Memorial Park, could iCloud, um, the iCloud, could that have pulled that location? And McClellan says, uh, that the iCloud probably could not have pulled that location of where it was. So 8 was there software in October of 17 that could have used the method 2 info or the method 2 technique and made it digestible? And McClellan said no.
Wait,
So
this was
like this method 2 is like basically it's just method 1 is you plug the thing
wait, but that
in.
was the juror's question?
Yes, I'm telling you, these
Say it
jurors
again
are.
about this digestible thing.
I think I wrote the word digestible, but
Oh,
like that was the
that was
point
the
of the
sum and
question.
substance of it.
Yeah, was there a software available anywhere in the world in October of 2017 that they could have used the method 2 technique in order to get that info, and could they have made it in a way? It's a great question. Like I couldn't remember. I was trying to remember who wrote it, and and could it be formatted in a way that was digestible for people to read and take in the information? McClellan said no.
Wait, McClelland answered the question?
Yes, that's how it always goes. It's always like, well, the expert will answer it, and then McClellan will follow up.
Right.
And then question 9, do you ever take a photo? Did you ever take I love this question so much. Did you ever take a photo of the lock screen to show the notifications that were on the
Wow.
phone when you got it?
Wow.
And he said no. And then it was
See,
lunch.
there's a guy who was not trained.
Well, he doesn't understand Apple. He doesn't know. He's like, that was an iPhone 6, man. That's like before my time. That's like my dad's phone. I think he's like dude still got an iPhone
Still
3.
shows the notifications like the juror asked.
I know. All right, so we had a nice lunch, went back. Witness 3 for the day, Jeremy Chapman, another Indiana State Police cop of 30 years. I believe that he's retired at this point. At the time, he was the systems administrator, a forensic examiner. EV 208 was his CV. He's an AV tech guy, so I knew this was the guy that did all the enhancement work. So they get right into it. He used a video forensic suite to enhance videos. He takes the videos and he tries to make it clear for the trier of fact. He said audio is difficult. It's a difficult program. He says he uses Adobe Suite and he uses certain filters and plugins, much like Darren does, our audio guy. 2017, he was extracting computers, phones, hard drives, flash drives. So on the 17th, on the 15th, he was sent a video by Bunner, the guy who just testified, a video of two girls. He played the video. He watched it a bunch of times. And then he said he watched it many, 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 many times in order to come up with frame candidates. Frame candidates are like in a specific frame that he thinks that he needs to try to enhance. So he's pulling just a one frame from a video. And I don't know if you ever do it, babe, like, cause you're not typically editing like little shorts like I do, but like when I'm on CapCut, like if I've got a video that I filmed, like I can see frame by frame, like, so you can pull frame. So he's essentially doing the same thing. As it turns out, I think I could have done exactly what this guy did, like in terms of his enhancement skills. And anybody who watches us knows you should not feel comfortable with that. I am not a tech savvy dude. So at this point, the question is, so you enhance the videos? He's like, well, I really enhanced pictures. I took stills. I took screenshots. I had grabs of, what we call frame candidates. So he puts in Chapman's report, which is EV 209, and there's which photos did you enhance? So he goes through and he talks about very specific frames within the video itself. So he's like, there were 3 candidates for frames that I thought that I could enhance. It was 370, frame number 370, 347, and 343. Those were the ones I elected to try to enhance. And at this point, there was an objection to the report. She was trying to say, like, this guy didn't lay the foundation in terms of trying to get the report in. She's like, the whole report's there. Because like Nick was trying to put the entire report into evidence. The objection should have not have been lack of foundation. It should have been hearsay. Guy's a cop. You don't put cop reports into evidence. Like, are we in crazy world all of a sudden? And I don't think there's no business record exception to that. It's a cop. He's not an independent forensic guy. He's a cop. So I don't like I thought that it should have been a hearsay objection, but she let it in anyway. It was admitted as it related to the pictures. So it's not admitted for the full content of the report itself. So as far as frame 370, that was the first frame the enhanced. He used this AMP5 software. So, and then what he said, I loaded the image in, I rotated it, I cropped it, I resized it, I adjusted the levels, I did some blocking, and then I did a little optical upgrade. Like, those are the 5 things he did. He's like, so that was done. That was the finished product. It's like 347 was the second frame, again 343. It's the third frame. He did the same thing. He's basically taking a picture, blowing it up, cropping it. He's doing what I do on my phone every day on Twitter, like with pictures, where if I've got something that I've had to take a screen grab of it, I take it, I crop it, I reframe it. If I need to rotate it, I rotate, So I mean, And like my favorite quote from this guy is, once something is blurry, it's blurry. I was like,
I mean,
there
there you
it is.
have it.
There
There
you
you have
got it.
it.
Yeah, that's it.
Uh,
So then they move on to enhancing the audio. And he said that the expert said on the stand that, and it was, it caused an objection. And I thought that it was an issue because there had been a motion in limine about this. And he accidentally slipped on the stand. And when Nick asked him a question, because he accidentally said what Nick asked him what audio he was trying to enhance. He says, "Oh, the part where he says down the hill." And he's like, "Oh, the part where it sounds like there's a male voice." So, but he had already let slip with it, so
Let's
like,
slip.
right. So he'd already planted the seed with the jurors who theoretically had not heard this audio ever. So now he's said it. I thought, like, not that she would ever have granted, but I probably wouldn't have made a mistrial objection. It's kind of the basis of their entire case. It's the basis for the kidnapping charge.
And I'm assuming she granted their motion in limine on that ground, that it was just gonna be the jurors had to hear it for themselves.
No, she didn't. I don't think. I mean, the expert said that the dude said down the hill. So at any
But
rate,
okay. I thought you said he said he'd let it slip.
he said it on the stand.
Right, but
McClelland asked him what sound he was trying to enhance, and the guy said the part where the dude says down the hill. He's like, "Oop, oops." I mean, the part where the very end where there's the male voice. That's what I was trying to enhance.
right, which makes
And
it seem like he knew he wasn't supposed to say the words.
right, and again, so what they did before they got to the audio, and before they had before they got into this, before they showed the enhancement, they showed the original. And again, it's like this part in the beginning where Libby, like, and you never see her face. Like, she never turns the camera on herself. You just see Abby for a minute. She then turns it to the ground. It's like she's looking at this gravel on the side of the tracks. And then and she says, "Oh, there's the gravel." And like I don't know who she's talking to. And by the time that she says there is no path down. Um, at that point, Abby's to her. So this is the perfect time for me to say my issue with this. And so the second time they showed the video, I could see way back. I'm obviously having to guesstimate, but it looked to me to be 25 to 30 yards behind Abby. You can see a figure way back there who's still very much on the high bridge. So he's on the trestle proper. Like, remember, it seems to me that Libby, when she's filming, is standing past where the trestle is. You still have the tracks, but you're not on the bridge anymore. And so this guy is so far behind, and everybody that's testified about this bridge, no one is running across that bridge. No one. You cannot cross that bridge without looking down. We've had witnesses on the stand saying that I've only taken 2 steps on it, that I've crossed it. And Kelsey said that she crossed it on her hands and knees. That's how scary the shit was. And she didn't even cross it. She said when she went out on it, she didn't feel secure enough to walk it standing. So my thing is how does that dude who was, because like I said, in this 43 seconds, she flashes up to Abby a second time, and Abby you can see is within feet of her. Okay, so how does this guy that's that far back get close enough to where the phone's catching any audio of that guy? Because this dude's not yelling. This is a guy speaking and just a normal speaking voice.
I mean, is it possible that
I'm gonna be really curious. I can't like I really want to see how the jury is going to interpret this video. It's such a huge part of their case,
so what you're
and
saying is that the audio and the image are not at the same time
it
in the
we
49 seconds?
we don't really know. We really don't know because like the dude's not in frame, but for a million miles back, there's no way they can tell if this guy's mouth is moving. There's no way. It's implausible. Like that was the thing that they were saying. The defense are like, We have no way, like, you have no way to show that this guy was actually saying those words. So he goes through the process of enhancing the video. Uh, and then, so Ajay asks him, do you have specialized training in listening? He's like, no. Do you have specialized skills or training in hearing? And he says, no. And then Gull allows him to ask, or McClelland to ask the opinion, because she jumped in for a foundational voir dire right there. So, like, after the
I love
whole
it.
kerfuffle where he accidentally said what he thought he heard the guy say. So then she allows McClelland to flat out ask him, "Sir, in your opinion, what did you hear the man say?" And he says, "Guys down the hill." That's his opinion.
Guys or girls?
It's guys down the hill. That's what it sounds like to him. That's what he said. So the audio and video enhanced separately. So he separated, like, he didn't do it all as one piece. So obviously the video that he tried to enhance, he did separately than the sound. So again, you're like, and that was the thing I was always saying, like, why are they acting like that sound happened at the same time? Because it's a very early on in the clip when you see this guy way behind Abby, and the sound is at the very end. So when they released it with the sound, it gave the misimpression that that's when the guy is saying it, and it's not. It's at the 42-second mark or the 41-second mark, and when you see him behind Abby in the video, it's in the first 3 to 5 seconds. So
And that was
no,
something it brought out and, like, made clear during cross?
well, no, Nick got in front of it and asked that. That was his last question. So Ajay's cross was very short. Uh, she asked about, um, she had his report, and she was talking about an unenhanced frame, and then page 3. So she was putting up. She's like, okay, so page 2. I just want to clarify for the jury. Page 2 of your report, which it's been published to the jury. Page 2 is an unenhanced frame of the photograph, right? That they're looking at. And then page 3 is the enhanced, just so they know what it really looks like. And she says, and then she goes to, and she talks about that there were changes made to the images, correct? And he says, yeah, there were changes made to the images. And she said there were changes to all 3 of the images, correct? Those are not the images. Those are images that you've done all kinds of things to in order to create them. And he said, yes. And then she didn't address the sound at all. She didn't touch the sound. All right. So then it got good. Then we had 3 witnesses testify that were eyewitnesses on the bridge that day. So there was Rayleigh Voorhees, now married Harrison, or well, no, she hasn't hyphenated her name officially. So she's Rayleigh Voorhees. So she lived in Delphi. She was in high school in 2017. She was 16 years old. She had a cell phone. At that point, she used Snap, Insta, and Facebook. And her and Libby were Facebook friends. She had no school on Monday, just like the rest of the kids. And then she decided to walk the High Bridge. She was in walking distance to the trails from her home. And she was at her mom's home. She typically went 2 to 3 times a week. She liked to take pictures out there. And if you missed it, babe, this is one of the eyewitnesses,
How old?
16 at the time. Went to the trails 2 to 3 times a week, took pics. Many times she'd go by herself. Sometimes she'd go with friends. On this particular date, she went with 2 of her sisters. She picked one up from her dad's house, who was 12 years old. She picked up her other sister, and then she picked up her friend Brienne Wilbur on the way. All 4 of them headed over. They all said, "Yeah, yeah, let's go take some pics over at the High Bridge." So that's what they did. So their route now that you're pretty familiar with the map. So they came in from the neighborhood closest to Freedom Bridge, walking distance to Freedom Bridge. They took Freedom Bridge in over the nature preserve trail, and they took the preserve trail all the way to the High Bridge.
That's what you did too, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. That's exactly the route that I took. So she did not go all the way to the end. She went past the barricade. There was a big orange barricade that they had there in order to try to discourage kids from going out on that bridge. It didn't work real well because you could just walk right around it. um, and so she said she didn't go all the way to the end of the bridge. She said she got just to the first platform. None of the other three joined her. And she said when she got to the High Bridge, did you go onto the bridge? She said, yes, I went to the platform. My sisters, no, they didn't go. She said that she left her house at 11:30 a.m. and that after all the stops, picking all the people up, that they got to the trails and the bridge around noon. Okay, so remember the timing here. It's important. Um, so at that point, they get down to like after they all take some pics on the bridge. A lot of the other three that didn't get on the bridge proper, or maybe one or two steps onto the bridge, they took their pics. And then they all went down the right side of the bridge down to the water because they wanted to take some more pics down there. She said there's no path and it's a bit steep. But they made it down. They took a bunch of pics on the river. And then they decided, all right, let's beat it. Let's jet.
Alright, so
And
I'm sorry, babe, it was 3 of them?
four,
5
four,
of them?
four girls total. These are the
4.
four girls that are in the PCA. Like if you guys want to frame a reference. So these are the 4 probable cause affidavit witnesses that all claim that they saw somebody. So they make it back up and they start walking back towards the Freedom Bridge. I forget who was, I don't know. I think it was Diener was directing her. Uh, Stacy Diener was doing the direct of this particular witness. And she asked her, what was the temperature that day? And she said it was 47 degrees. And she says, well, how would you know what the degrees were that day? And she's like, well, when I was leaving, my dad said, but like, it seems like it's too cold for you to be going wearing what you're wearing. And she says, no, it's nice out. So he pulled up the weather and told her it's 47, dress
Makes
appropriately.
sense. There you go.
So she did not see anyone on the High Bridge that day other than herself and her friends. And then she saw a person walking towards the High Bridge with the dog. And then she saw another person walking back towards Freedom Bridge. And she says she often sees people out there. She sees people walking their dogs, walking out there to exercise. They asked her if Diener asked her if she recognized either of those people. She said, no, I did not. She said, but I waved at both of them. I was waving at everybody that day. I was in a good mood. I'm a happy person. And then so Diener then skips to when she sees this guy. So she sees this guy, and she tried to wave at him. And this is a guy walking the opposite direction. So he's walking towards the High Bridge. They're walking towards the Freedom Bridge. She sees this guy like she'd been doing with the other people. So she waved. He didn't wave. Seemed like he kind of like had a sour puss, which I don't know how she saw that once we get to her description. And he didn't seem like a happy person, I guess, because he didn't wave. And so she found that he was kind of unsettling. He gave her a bad vibe. Okay, so then and she kind of slipped into this thing that like later that night when she learned that the girls were missing, she thought about the guy and she's like, oh, what about that guy? And so the girls were talking about a man and that he seemed unhappy. That's what she kept saying. And then shortly thereafter, on the 15th, she was asked to give a statement. So she went in and gave a statement. And then she asked her, well, had you taken pics? You took pics with both your Nikon and on your phone. She said, yes, I did, for social media. She said, yeah, Snapchat. And she posted some of the pics on her story. She didn't save them. She said she took a pic with Brianna's phone or Brianne's phone for her to post on Snap. which when we get to her, because she testifies as well, she did save the photo. So her description was that this guy was overdressed for the weather, in her opinion. That he had a face covering on that went all the way over his mouth and halfway up the bridge of his nose. That he was male. That he had a hat on. That he had a hood, from what she could tell. She thought he was Caucasian. She couldn't see his full face, and the mask went over the tip of his nose. And he was wearing a heavier coat. He had, in her estimation, it was all black. He was wearing black jacket, black pants, black boots, and he had his hands in his pocket. So then, when she sees the still image released of Bridge Guy, she says that she recognized that that was the guy that she saw. Even
And has
though
she given us a time for when she saw this person?
no, so that's we're getting to it though, which is
Okay.
weird that she didn't say it on
Direct.
direct. So that's basically she wasn't on for long. None of these three were on for very long. It was like in and out. They were trying to get them on and off. So then the cross goes, and I think again this was Auger. So she like, you were off school that right, but you still had cheer that day. She's like, yes, I did, and you had to be home by 2:30. She's like, correct. So, but you were close to the end of the trail, but you were still in the trees, right? And she says yes, and she claims that she got to uh, Brienne's house at 2:20 p.m. Remember that time? So sh- uh, at that point, Auger pulls out her February 15th statement where she talked to Steve Mullen, and Mullen says that she was just a few yards from Freedom Bridge, and that she saw this person at 2:15 p.m. That's when she sees him on the bridge. And then Auger says, "Well, that's 2 minutes after 2:13, correct?" She just kind of looks. She's like, "Yes." Doesn't say why she asked that question. She just asked that question. And then, so the question is, so the man that you saw was all black, right? And you had him aged at 20 to 30. She's like, yeah, black jeans, black hoodie, black face covering, black boots. And she's like, maybe I thought that, like, because after she's seen the picture, she can clearly see that he's not wearing all black. He's got a blue jacket on, blue jeans.
Right, but and she's assuming she saw the same person, but clearly she didn't since she's on Freedom Bridge at the same time that person is on, uh, the High
No,
Bridge.
no, no. She's claiming that they're walking towards the well, you're saying in terms of the state's theory.
Well, yeah, this but you're saying that this witness saw someone near Freedom Bridge at 2:15.
Right.
Well, the killer is or bridge guy is on High Bridge at that same exact time, so and actually,
According to
um,
the state's theory.
according to the well,
State
we know that whoever the bridge guy, the person on the bridge in that video is there at 2:15 and on your
213.
post 2:13 on your post, and I thought I took a picture of it. It's another creator was like, so she made that witness irrelevant by saying it was Freedom Bridge. God, I'm blanking on which creator it was. I wanted to not. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter, but
No,
um,
I mean, you're exactly right. Like, I was trying to kind of like, I'm sure everybody put that together. We know because I said it a bunch of times. With the video was definitely taken at 2:13, so we know that her story can't be accurate in terms of who
or
she
she
saw,
saw a different person.
or the time, or she's just got the time way off. I was going to kind of wait to get into this discussion until after Brienne testifies.
And if I could find this creator's name, she was saying, well, maybe she actually did see Richard Allen on the way back to his car.
Right.
Although I
So,
think the defense has him gone already by then, but
well,
I thought I took a
Betsy
picture.
Blair doesn't, or right around then, Betsy Blair has him gone, or his car's gone. All right. So then, uh, like, she doesn't even challenge her on that aspect of it. Like, she doesn't say, well, are you aware that, the video was taken on Libby's phone at 2:13, so it's impossible for you to see. So she doesn't go at him. She didn't need to. So she says ultimately that despite the fact that she sees the picture and he's wearing completely different clothes, that maybe in her mind, because of his general demeanor, that's what made her think that he was in all black. And then so she said, well, and this guy had a bigger build. And she says, yes. It's like not muscular, but like a bigger build. And then so she gave another statement on 217 wherein Auger challenged her on it and impeached her a bit and said, well, in the statement you gave on 217, 2 days after your first statement, you in fact did say he was muscular, didn't you? She says, well, that's what the paper says, but I don't remember saying that. And you also said that he had dirty blonde hair, and that it wasn't long hair, but it was long enough to come out of the hoodie. And then she refreshes her recollection again with the 217 statement. She says, yes, I did say that. And then Auger says, did you tell the investigator that he had curly hair? You said he had curly hair, a square jaw, and kind of a wrinkly kind of face. She says, yeah, that was what I told them on 217. And then she said, you gave another statement in 2021. And the fact is, your memory can't be better in 2021 than it was in 2017, correct? She says, correct. So then Auger does what she does. She gives her a copy of the map of the area and says, okay, I want you to circle where you say that you saw a bridge guy, and I want you to initial it. And so she does. She publishes it to the jury. And remember, at this point, this is right after the witness who just testified that the video was taken at 2:13. So she's seeing this guy, as you aptly noted, Allison, in a place that bridge guy could not possibly be because he's caught on the video that Libby had taken.
Right, and it was Yellow Jackets, by the way. I don't know who anybody is. I'm sure you probably know
Oh yeah,
who that is.
she's one of the due process gang.
Okay, well, she was like, "Okay, well, this guy's completely irrelevant because Bridge Guy is on whoever Bridge Guy is was on the other
On the
bridge at the
bridge.
exact same time." So I asked, "Yeah, that's true. So what do we think the reason the state called this witness was? Like, what was the state's point in calling the witness?"
I mean, it's hard to know, but like all of these witnesses are like this. The defense had a very good day today in terms of these witnesses. So, and then she asks her, "You're 5'7", correct?" And then she says, "Yes." And she says that the man that you saw was taller than you, correct? She says that, "Yes." And then Auger says, "What? So 5'10"? And she says, "Yes," and then ends it there. So she's got him. She's got whoever this guy is that she saw is 5'10",
Which doesn't
and
really matter because it's not Richard Allen if it's 5'10", and it's also not Bridge Guy, so
right.
doesn't really help anyone.
All right. So then at that point, Diener tries to redirect to do a little bit of rehabilitation. She asks a question. You stopped at a bench to take some pics, right? Yes. Um, and then she has her get up to the big map on the big screen. Do you see the building with the green roof, which is in the background of your photo anywhere on this map? She says, yeah, it's this building. So it kind of establishes where that bench is in conjunction to the Freedom Bridge, and it's pretty close. It's probably a minute walk. It's a very short walk from the
So
bench,
so nowhere near the High Bridge.
nowhere near the High Bridge. And then she points close to the Mears Farm entrance. Okay. So
Wait, what does she what how's she pointing at the Mears Farm entrance? What
I guess that was like where she claims that the bench was.
well, that's way closer to the bridge than what you just
It's kind of like it's halfway.
okay.
I would determine it halfway.
Yeah, it
Like,
was still when I came in the Mears entrance, and there was still, I couldn't even, like, see the bridge for the longest
no,
time.
not even
Right,
close. Like
right,
I passed like the Mears Bridge entrance is right where the memorial is. Like when you
right.
walk on that path right there. So I hit that once I crossed Freedom Bridge. I was at the memorial within 2 minutes, two and a
2
half
minutes.
minutes, two,
Oh,
3, yeah, 2, 3 minutes.
oh.
I am a brisk walker though, and I was by myself, so I didn't have anybody with real short legs like dragging me down in terms of my walking pace. Um, uh,
I do have
So,
short legs.
so then she asked her, "You saw a bridge guy after you left the bench?" Yes. She says, "Yes." And then she says, "In your entire life, have you ever been asked to estimate weight? No. Height? No. Distance? No." Um, and um, and then
Alright,
she's
so she saw bridge guy coming out.
and so then she asks her that this she has nothing with her that she had nothing with her when she spoke to the police that would have given them timestamps as to when the pics she had taken. She said no.
Well, if you're a jury, you've been given the possibility that whoever was on the bridge just continued on off the bridge and bumped into her on his way out and had nothing to do with the murders. That's one possibility you've just been presented based on that.
100%. And so very one question, actually a kind of a two question recross. So question was the picture you saw, the still photo that they released to the public, that influenced your memory, didn't it? She said, "What?"
Mm.
This is Auger asking on
Oh,
cross. So,
recross.
so the picture you saw of this person they were calling bridge guy influenced your memory, didn't it? And then finally she says, possibly. I mean, she had to be honest about it. Uh, the most important thing about that witness, aside from her completely making herself irrelevant, is that she gave no court ID of Richard Allen. There was no, do you see the man that you saw on that bridge this day, on that day, today in court? So no, she didn't ask it. No
But
one asked.
again, her I if that even if that had been the person she had seen had been Richard Allen, that would prove that Richard Allen was not at the end of High Bridge
Killing the girl.
unaliving anybody.
Right. So
I was on the bridge, I came off the
I
bridge.
know. Pause it all until Brienne.
Alright, sorry.
So Brienne's with her.
He says, "Wait for it."
Wait for it. Wait for it. 'Cause it's like they use her to kind of discredit their own witness again.
Who has a wait, the picture I thought the time of the picture was 2:15.
We don't know the time of the picture. Like that's what I was just saying. She was asked on redirect. Nothing that you had when you didn't have anything with you when you gave your statements at the police department that would indicate the time or the dates that your pictures were taken, correct? And she said, correct. I didn't have anything. Just wait for it. She
Okay,
didn't
so
have shit. She had no timestamp, nothing.
well, a picture has a timestamp.
She didn't have it because it was on Snap and she didn't save it to her phone. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think
Oh,
on Snap, you can save it to your photos. She didn't have that setting toggled, so it was gone. She didn't have shit. Like, I was
that's
doing the same thing in
the
the
most
gallery. I'm like,
annoying.
why aren't they asking her if she had timestamps on her shit? Because that was on redirect. I was like, I was going nuts. I'm like, is it like am I in crazy world? Like, why isn't anybody asking like if she had any of her photos timestamped? Like, why isn't Auger asking? Did law enforcement ask you for copies of your photographs? Did they ask to see your phone? Did they want to see if there were timestamps to verify the times that you're talking about? And none of that happened. So
And Snapchat chat could have, if subpoenaed, could have told them, although not the image, but what time images were posted. That
you
they
would
could have
think,
told. Well, it's
you would
happened in
think,
other cases of mine. We've seen it.
yeah. All right, so witness 5 was Brianne Wilbur, one of the 4 that was, down there that day. Another eyewitness, another student at Delphi, 2017. She was using Snapchat primarily as her social media. Um, she did have Liberty German as a friend on Snap. I think she also had Kelsey German as a friend on Snap, which is going to be something really interesting. Um, she went to the trail. She visited it often. It's walking distance from her house. A lot of times she went with Rayleigh and Anna, another friend, or I think that's actually her sister. And then, so on that day, on the 17th, they stopped by her house and they all agreed to go take pics out at the bridge. She said when they got to the high bridge that, she only took 1 or 2 steps onto the bridge, max, to see any other people. She said she saw a couple of people. And then she said, what did you do? She said, nothing crazy. I took some pics, went down to the water, and then we decided to head back to the the bridge, the other bridge. And then she says, was there a last photo that you took before you left? And she said, yes. And then the question was asked, and you provided that photo to law enforcement? She said, I did. And then she said, and that photo had a timestamp, did it not? And she says, yes, it did. And so EV211 was entered and admitted, and that is the snap pic that she took. So, and she actually took a couple of pictures that were entered. So one was a photo of the High Bridge that she took at 12:43 p.m. And then on the way back, her picture at the bench was taken at 1:26 p.m. So
What?
this,
1:26 p.m.
yeah, so a 45-minute difference from when Rayleigh claims that they saw.
And the person that they see is heading from High Bridge towards Freedom Bridge or from Freedom Bridge towards High Bridge?
Again, this is like this person is heading opposite direction. They're heading towards Freedom Bridge. This guy that they're claiming they unequivocally think is bridge guy is heading towards the High Bridge. So he's going into the trails, they're coming out of the trails.
Okay.
But this bench near the Mears entrance, she takes the photograph.
I did see a bench there.
Yeah,
Okay.
1:26 p.m. So we've got a massive difference. They've completely just, I don't even know why they put Rayleigh on.
Nope, no idea.
I have no clue why they put her on, because this is indisputable. I kept saying it because there was a break in between Rayleigh and Brienne. And I'm like, there is no way that they got to the bridge at noon and were there until 2:20. There's no way. We did it. Like, we were out there. We were looking at shit. I stood on the bridge looking at the fish, doing all kinds of shit, thinking about climbing over the railing, waiting for the little cop in the golf cart to leave so I could walk down the tracks. It's like we were there forever and we weren't there for anywhere near 2 hours.
Right.
And I walked all the way down to the cemetery. We picked up the car, we drove around, it was like, it wasn't even close. So that's what I was thinking. And then Brienne takes the stand, clears it all up for me. Like, this makes way more sense. So, and then, so then the next question is, do you see people on the way out? Her answer was yes, I did. And I saw a guy with many layers on, and he had kind of a strange walk. And then Rayleigh had been talking, she said something after we saw him that he was a bit off. And then Libby was a friend of mine on Snap, and she saw my story and commented on my story and asked if we were still there. And I responded to her and I said, no, that we might have left 10 minutes ago. She clarified, when you say you might have left, you meant that you left the High Bridge about 10 minutes ago. She's like, correct. Yes. And so then so after the girls go missing, then she goes in and she gives a statement, and her statement is that the man that she saw was walking with a purpose, and that you couldn't see much of his face, and he had a blue or black jacket on, and then she saw the bridge guy image, and that she is confident that was the person that she saw on the bridge.
And correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe the chat can. Kaylee dropped the girls off. Was that 1:47?
Kelsey, you got to
Kelsey.
quit butchering her name.
Sorry, Kelsey.
Let's
No.
see. I think I can't, like I'm at the point now where I've gotten so many dates and times.
You know what? I got Joe Schmo's maps right here.
All right,
He has the
check that
time on it.
I'm gonna keep going through the cross.
Kelsey drops Abby and Libby off at 1:45.
1:45. I've heard. Well, we're gonna get to it. Because Mullins gets back on the stand. He was the last witness of the day. He had gotten some still photos from the feds who had gone to Hoosier Harvest, and they pulled some photos, and Kelsey's vehicle is one of the vehicles that we see from their video over at Hoover Harvest or Hoosier Harvest. So Andy gets up and he does the cross. And so Andy's first question is, this guy you saw, he was a taller guy, right? You said that he came up to, and you said that he came up to your upper forearm. Like you kept saying forearm. He should have said upper bicep, or like you should have just said shoulder. And so finally she got it. She's like, yeah, he was, he's like the guy who creeped you out. She's like, yes, he was a taller guy. That she came up to is just his shoulder blade, and she's taller. She's like, and you said in your 2020 interview that he was a muscular younger guy in his early 30s, wearing a windbreaker, a hoodie, and that he had something on his head. And she said, yeah, that's accurate. And he said that there were a lot of people on that trail, right? And then she said, yeah. And he said, and you actually said that he looked 20 with brown poofy hair, correct? And she said, yeah, in that statement I did. And then so Diener, she doesn't do anything. So then we get,
But before you go again, it was 1:26, the bench picture?
yes. Wait, let me see. Yeah, 1:26 p.m. bench picture. All right, so witness 6, I was very excited about it. Was Betsy Blair. If you guys haven't been following the coverage from anyone, you'll remember that during Andy Baldwin's opening statement, he talked about Betsy Blair will be testifying that when she drove past the old CPS, which is now a lot where people park, that the 2016 black Ford Focus was not there. Okay, so just keep that in mind with this particular witness called by the state at this point. She does not live in Delphi. She's never lived in Delphi. Back in 2016, 2017, she used to go out to the trails several times a week. That is where she got her exercise. She always did the exact same route. Said the weather was a little chilly that day. I was thinking, yeah, see, it's like that's when you get older. It's always a little colder. Teenagers like don't wear jackets, don't zip their shit up. Old people are like, yeah, it was a little bit cold.
Well, we're calling us old. She's like our age,
I
right?
am old.
She's our age, right?
Right, she's old. I'm old, you're not. So she said the time of the day that she went, it varied. She was asked how she would have kept track
I know
of
nothing about
like her
that.
times and when she went places and her steps. She said, I wore a Fitbit and I had an app on my phone that had all the data from my Fitbit. And then she said she would always park by a lot by Old Mears Farm. And that she would do her particular route that she had set in stone 3 times. Like, so it was kind of like she'd do the circuit. So she'd park and then I think she'd walk down the path. She'd be like, I took a right and then I took a left. I'd walk all the way down to the High Bridge. I turn back and I walk and then I go up, then I go over the
Question, did
Freedom
she cross
Bridge.
the High Bridge or she just came to the entrance of it?
Yeah, she said the most that she'd ever do is like, I think she may have said she'd go out to a platform, but oh no, I think she said she actually always stopped at the Orange Barricade.
Okay, and she parked where? Remind us again?
Old Mears Farm.
Okay,
In a lot by Old Mears Farm.
so is Old Mears Farm the same as Mears Farm?
I'm assuming, like, she pointed it out on the big map.
So if so, that's right near the Mears entrance. I just didn't see a lot over there, but other than no lot.
So on this particular day, she did 2 of her loops. That's she called them her circuits. She did 2 loops, and then she took a break before the 3rd loop. Said she had to take a break. She had to go to the bathroom, and she said that she left, got in her car, drove to go to the library to go to the bathroom, and then drove back. And on the 2nd loop, that she didn't see anybody. Now, on her third loop, when she gets back from going to the bathroom and parks and walks back down there, she said that she sees a man uh, on the High Bridge, and then she stops at the barricades. And then, no, she said she saw a man near the High Bridge, and then uh, as she was walking towards her, and then she saw another man on the High Bridge, on the platform.
So, and I just want to mention when you and I were looking at the High Bridge now, albeit we could only go, I'm going to say maybe it's about a quarter of the way, but maybe someone else knows better. I felt, I mean, I couldn't even see the end because I assumed it
No,
was
but
sort of,
don't confuse the tracks with the bridge. Like, you could see the end of the bridge.
oh, yeah.
It goes about halfway over the bridge. The
Yeah,
tracks
I'm
keep
sorry.
going.
Right.
Yeah,
The tracks keep going, but the tracks keep going until they hit that access road, private road,
right.
and I couldn't see the end of the tracks. I'll put it
Yeah,
that
I
way.
I didn't make that walk down there where you guys did all the way down to that end. I wanted to, but I didn't. I'm gonna go back there. Um, so again, she says on her third loop, she sees a man near the High Bridge, and then she stops at the barricade and she sees a man on the bridge. She also said that she saw two girls walking along, chatting intimately, is the way she put it.
Oh, she did, 2 girls.
Yeah, and then and at this point, she said she kept walking back towards the Freedom Bridge. So, like, at this point, she doesn't get into the details what she sees about this guy that she sees on the bridge. So then, because that's the way that Dina was doing it. She says after that, that this report comes out that there's girls missing, and her husband says, "Hey, weren't you out there today? You should call. You should call in and let them know that you were out there." She's like, "Okay." So she does. The next day, she learns that the girls are deceased. She then sees the image, and uh,
Wait, she then sees the image
yeah, the image that law enforcement puts out after the girls are dead. She sees the bridge guy picture.
that wasn't put out until, like, forever afterwards.
No, 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 no. It was a
Yeah.
couple. Days. No, 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 no. It's a couple days. It's a couple days.
What?
The still photo was put out a couple days after. Like,
Okay.
we just went through the guy. There was a whole rush job to get to the phone was in the guy's hand.
Oh, I'm thinking of the video. Okay.
Right,
The still photo.
right.
Sorry.
Okay. So at that point, so Diener holds up the big image that they have in the courtroom that has the bridge guy still photo on it. Says that, this is the image. And I could have sworn she said, "Would you agree?" I was like, "What?" Maybe I just wrote that because of the whole "would you agree" thing. Would you agree that this image is referred to as the bridge guy? I think I must have made that up. It must have been like stuck in my head. And she says, "Yeah, I recognize him as the one I saw on the bridge." So she's then contacted by law enforcement. She gives a statement. She then brings them her Fitbit data, uh, and she gives a shared image of the data from her phone with law enforcement that was entered as EV212, the Fitbit data. And she claims that it was from 12 to 1 p.m. that her Fitbit data said that she was done with her first two loops by 1 o'clock. Third loop, and then Diener doesn't get into it. Like, mysteriously, they just won't talk. Like, she avoids the time of the end of her third loop like the plague. Okay,
What
that's the
about the
whole.
time she went to the bathroom? Avoided like the
Diener
plague.
avoided it like the plague, like the plague. You'll see when it gets to be cross. Um, So our third loop, that's when she sees bridge guy. He says he was out on the bridge, he was on a platform, and that as she stopped at the barricade, that he turned and looked at her as if he was expecting someone, but not me. So at the
Mm.
law enforcement interview, um, she stated that she had never seen this person on the trails before. No, and that was it. That's the end of, like, you're done. Bye. Bye. I'm done with you. Andy, you could take her. So Andy gets up. So she was calling the entrance the niches entrance. And like, Andy is like, "Okay, I just want to be clear for everyone in here because we have not heard that term before, that the niches is the mirrors entrance." And she says, "Yes." Okay, so he goes right into, so you say that you saw a man on the platform on the right. She says yes. And you described him as being in his 20s or 30s, between his 20s and 30s. She says yes. She's like, I didn't tell law enforcement that. I told the sketch artist that. And you said that he had brown puffy hair. She said that's correct. And then she says uh, that she tells Andy that she passed the girls before she got to the mirror's entrance. Okay.
Hmm.
And they're coming in though.
But they came in the mirror's entrance.
Right. So she passes them before.
So she passed
She's
different
not
girls.
right, but remember she's doing a loop.
Oh, so on her way back from the bridge before the mirror's entrance.
Right.
Okay, back from High Bridge before the mirror's entrance. Then it would have been
Exactly.
Abby and Libby. Okay.
Exactly. She says that so she goes on to continue what she claims that this guy and Andy saying, you said that he looked young, more boyish looking. You said that in March of 2019 that he was youthful in appearance and that he was of average height. And so the question was, he was not short, right? She said, didn't seem like it. So question, he was not wearing a hat. I didn't see one. And then question, he had no facial hair, correct? And she said, I didn't see any. And then at this point, Andy brings up he said, okay, so I want to talk about when you had to take your break and when you walked back to your vehicle. And then Diener stands up and makes a beyond the scope objection, which the judge sustains.
Outrageous. Like,
Andy,
legally, it is ridiculous.
yeah.
Let's repeat it again. Repeat what you said
Which
for all
part?
those who were busy chatting with each other.
What? That Diener stands up and makes a
No,
beyond the scope?
what she object say it, just repeat it.
Well, Andy went to ask, he's like, okay, well, now I want to ask you about before you took your third loop, when you walked back to your car, got to your car to drive to the library and came back. And Diener stands up and says, objection beyond the scope. So now you remember when I said that the only time frame that was brought up was 12 to 1 o'clock after the first two loops, that she was done with the first two loops, that no mention of any time. So she tries to avoid it like the plague.
But guess what? She said she got in her car and she drove to the library. So she testified about
I
that.
know. I mean, they're going to call her.
I
Like,
know, but
ain't no bu
what
I
is wrong with Judge Gull?
You're
What
preaching to the choir,
is
girl.
wrong with her?
You're
And she doesn't
preaching
even
to
care about judicial economy.
Yeah,
Like, with
it's
all the other flaws, and she doesn't even care about judicial economy.
she doesn't care. She doesn't care. All right, so
Outside
Andy
of
just
the
sits.
scope.
Andy's like, okay, sits down. I mean, they know they're going to call her.
And they said she's subject to recall.
Yeah, and she's on their list anyway.
I know, but they said the words, she's subject to recall.
Who the state? It's
Yeah.
their witness.
The defense said the words when she was
I don't. They're gonna. Yes, I'm assuming that they did. I
okay.
was like talking to people like, I can't believe that she sustained that. I mean, I was like all
Up in arms.
like I didn't hear what the last thing that they. I'm sure that like there was definitely a brief conversation, and I'm sure that's what it was.
Yeah, just so you guys know, avoiding mentioning the time, even though you have mentioned the event, does not make something outside of the scope. She testified about an event, period. She can be asked anything about that event.
Exactly. So I mean, it's going to come out. They know it. It's like their approach to this thing because
Did you look up to see if any of the jurors were like, what? Or
no, but
writing or
when they're going to be like that is when the defense has to call her back to the stand and they're going to recall that she made an objection when he was trying to ask her when she was testifying on their behalf why they did that. Why did the state do that? Why are you what ball are you trying to hide from us? There's not going to be any other interpretation. This is a very smart jury. They're good. They're like, these are not a bunch of people that are paying half attention. They're paying like rapt attention, sitting there diligently taking notes, diligently watching, asking really bright questions. This was the wrong jury for that. So then on redirect, Diener says, well, you really only saw this guy for a few seconds, right? And she's like, yeah. Like, so they start flame throwing their own
Their
witness.
own
And I'm
witness.
like, why'd you put her on? Like, why did you put her on? I don't get it. I really don't, you know? Um, all right. So she then says, since 2017,
What happened, Michael?
you have not changed your mind about your description. And she says oh no,
Diener's asking this.
no, this is Andy. Andy's back up
Oh, it's like, okay.
for a brief recross. He says 2017 that you have not changed your mind about your description. And then she gives this really kind of confusing answer. There's like a little bit of back and forth. And then she says, well, when I gave that description to law enforcement, I was comparing the two different images, talking about sketch one, sketch two. So she seems like she's claiming that they had written down, like that they had showed her both sketches, and that she was literally describing the second kid, or the second sketch in 2019. She's like, oh yeah, he looks boyish, he looks fresh faced, he looks young, he's got brown puffy hair. And
Well, there was no color in that
the
sketch.
one other thing that Diener asked her was, oh no, okay, so they're done. But jury questions.
Thank God.
Jury questions. All right. So the jury asked, so what was your distance to Bridge Guy? And she says about 50 feet. And she says, and so they ask, how could you tell that he was looking for someone?
I
She's
was
like,
thinking the same thing.
it was like his posture. He was she said, when I saw him, he was kind of looking upstream. And then he turned around, like when he heard me walking, he turned around and looked towards me, as if he was looking for someone, but not me. He's like, oh, like kind of that move. Oh, no, Ronnie, it's not her. So that was a great question. And then they asked her, could you have mistaken the brown poofy hair for a hat? And she said, I could have. It's
Hmm.
possible.
Wow,
So,
that's not a good question for the defense.
eh,
I want him having brown poofy hair.
you know, she's gonna like her important testimonies about what she saw or didn't see in that
And
parking
why
lot.
was there no objection? Like, I don't know. I guess
All
that's
right.
not speculation, but
So last witness for the day was Steve Mullins,
hmm.
who was
That's a scary answer. I'm still kinda stuck on it. A scary question from
well,
the
she's a very honest witness. I
No, I
mean,
mean the jury. Could you have mistaken brown poofy hair for a hat? What
oh, I mean, maybe. I mean, or they're just being thorough. They haven't heard the other part of it. Like, let's just reserve it. I noted, definitely noted. Like they're thinking about it all. I mean, they're trying to put it together, right? So I mean, you want a jury doing that. You want
Yes, you
them
do, you do.
deliberating all the facts. So, like,
Sure.
I don't worry about things like that this early in the case. So Mullins gets up there and he talks about on the 14th of February 2017 that he examined the Hoosier Harvest store or Harvest store, and that particular video, which I was telling you, they put it up. He pointed out where the camera is on that long, skinny building. Oh, my phone just died.
I just
Um,
wanna note, I think I'm surprised none of the jurors asked to clarify the times with her. What time she was where and how long she was on the bridge and all
yeah, I
those
know.
things that were
Strange.
never
Strange.
yeah.
Strange that they didn't ask those questions. So he talks about where the camera was and where it's situated, that you can see vehicles on a portion of 300 North, County Road 300 North, during daytime hours. So he considered that to be 8:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning to 5:30. He went and looked at all that video and then he left. He's like, yeah, I didn't really see anything. So then he decided to review it again. And this time he looked from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. The second time he went back to Hoosier Harvest to look at it.
Wait, 12 a.m. to 12.
12 a.m. He looks
Oh,
for
on the
it
13th. Got it.
on the 14th.
On the 14th.
Yes. Like, so the day, like, I'm assuming this is after the girls are found. He goes, because then they know they're
No, I
dealing.
meant he's looking at the video from 12 a.m. on the 13th to 12 p.m. on the 13th.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, the day of the crime. Okay, so he says that he sees vehicles, but he couldn't really make anything out. So then he ends up acquiring a video from the FBI, and they provide him with some documentation, an affidavit of records, and that specifically the retrieval of the video from Hoosier Harvest. And he says, did you notice a time change on the affidavit that you got from the FBI? And he says, yes, I did. That they were able to determine that the Hoosier Harvest video is in fact 54 minutes fast.
Wow.
And so, and he says, okay, so which frame did you look at? And he says, again, I looked, so like once I got the actual time, I was looking from 8 to 5:30, knowing what the actual time is without it being 54 minutes fast. And so I was looking for several vehicles. I was looking for Betsy Blair's vehicle. I was looking for Sarah Carbaugh's vehicle, and I was looking for Kelsey German's vehicle. And he said, did you observe those vehicles on the video? And he says, yes, I did. So these are the times that he gets, and these are EV 214 through EV 219. So at 214, Betsy Blair, he sees her eastbound on 300.
Wait, I'm sorry. What time?
I haven't given the time yet.
Oh,
So he
sorry.
sees her at eastbound on 300 north at wrong time 12:56, but then he gives he quits doing that like after this because it was confusing.
Thank
So
God.
he sees her at 12:02:59 heading eastbound. Okay, at EV 215, he sees Betsy Blair traveling westbound. Okay, and he sees her at 1:15 traveling westbound. At 2, so this is when she goes to the bathroom. Okay, so 216, EV 216, he sees Betsy Blair coming back eastbound at 1:46 p.m.
Wait, not 216 at 146.
Just
Okay.
let me finish through the times. Man, you have no patience.
Well,
All right,
I wrote
so
down 216, but I guess that was
217,
the item.
217. What did you write down?
You're giving I think the
It's
evidence,
in,
exhibit number, or are you giving an evidence number?
yeah, it's I don't know any of the evidence numbers, so
Okay,
it's
so these are all exhibit numbers. Okay.
exhibit numbers, yeah. So, for my purposes, I'm just calling them EV. So at so exhibit 217, he observes Kelsey German's car uh eastbound at 1:49 p.m. So 1:49 in the afternoon. So exhibit 218, he observes Betsy Blair's vehicle going westbound at 2:18 p.m., which lines up exactly with what they're saying she's going to say. And then at exhibit 219, he sees Sarah Carbaugh heading eastbound at 3:56 p.m.
On foot or in car?
These are all in vehicles. These are
Okay.
all vehicles.
And at
And
what
those
time again? Sorry.
3:56 p.m. And so that's it. So he's off the stand at that point.
That's it. He didn't.
Oh no, Andy asks one question. He says, so he's like, just so I'm clear, and just so the jury's clear, Betsy Blair and Sarah Carbaugh came in and said, yeah, those are our cars. Like, so Andy wants it in stone that there's no dispute that those are Betsy Blair for down the road. That's why he asked. The jury has no idea why he asked that question, but they'll know soon enough. So that both of those women came in and they both said, "Yes, that is my vehicle. Yes, I was there at that time."
So no people on the camera.
Right. So then,
Hmm.
Baldwin had called a sidebar, and that was it for the day. But and like the judge asks, "Is there anything else that we need to bring up outside the presence of the jury?" And Baldwin says, "Well, just the one thing that I brought up at the sidebar about the opening of the door to get the sketches in because they had her testify about the sketches."
Yep. Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yep. So,
She closed that door, I take it.
no. She said we'll kick that we'll kick that till tomorrow or down the road a bit, but we'll address it. And then that was it. Wait, hold on. Fuck, she brought her notebook up. So I had missed one little bit that the person sitting to my left caught and told me about. I didn't have it in my notes, but I took a screenshot of it and my phone died. And it was that Brienne, the girl who was with Rayleigh, okay, Wilbur, said that, and I don't know how I missed this because it's kind of like what? Brienne said that on the day of that they went out to the bridge, that Kelsey was at her house. Kelsey German, Libby's sister. Now, Kelsey had testified that she was at her boyfriend's house before she went to work.
Well, is this girl related to her boyfriend?
Not that I know of. I mean, if that didn't come out, I mean, it's like kind
Alright,
of a weird.
tomorrow you gotta cross compare with Lee and Andrea to see what they got on that, because that's pretty significant.
Oh,
Alright,
yeah.
we're getting
So,
super stickers on.
so that's it, man. It was like a pretty action-packed day. It was an
Alright, well,
action-packed day.
we've got tons of questions for you to answer here,
Oh
so
man. All right. Let me start
first
going.
we'll quickly thank the people who just gave comments. Kate's Meow, thank you so much for your transparency. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen, for your super sticker. And Anne Marie Bradley, thank you. All right. Question. Whispers in the Wind, $10. Question about the bullet. We know that the bullet was a 40 Smith & Wesson, correct so far?
Yeah.
But what company made the bullet?
Winchester.
Okay. And what brand of bullet did Richard Allen use in his pistol?
We don't know yet.
We don't know
I
yet.
mean, well, they're saying Winchester because they're saying it's Allen's bullet.
Right, but we haven't heard
We haven't gotten there yet.
specifically.
We haven't
Okay.
gotten there yet.
And then we've got Grin for Me. Thank you, $20. Just saying how much he appreciates us and taking
Appreciate
away
you.
from our personal lives. Thank you. Thank you. We do hope to give you fact-based, unbiased opinion for us. And the people, to the best of your ability, love you both. Thank you.
Thank you, Grin, for me. You're always awesome. Feed Bob.
Whispers in the Wind. Thanks
Oh,
again.
big one.
And his or her wife thinks that I rock and she wants to be my new bestie. Well, I
Oh,
appreciate that. I do.
yeah. That's
And
awesome.
Dr. Vonda, always,
Always giver. Yep.
yep. Thank you.
Love you.
Sabrina. So no utterance of gun in the enhanced video, Bob.
I did not hear it. I did not hear it.
Did you talk to anyone else? Did you ask other
Talked
people?
to a
Did they?
bunch of people. No one heard it.
All right. Well, there you go.
Everyone, I'm telling you, everyone that I talked to was like, how is that dude that distance getting that close that fast where his audio is caught on that phone? That's like what people like. I
Hmm.
don't think the video helped them.
All right. The crypto tax lawyer, thank you very much. I have a question mainly about y'all. Can we not join the chat anymore? Chain? The ch- sorry, out of the loop. Okay. I don't know what that means.
Crypto, what does that mean? Can we not join the chan anymore? Sorry, out of the loop. The
Two
channel?
did oh maybe
Yeah.
two
What? Of course, you could definitely join the channel. I
Did
like
Allie get booted from the exhibit well? I did. Yes, from the exhibit well, the well of the court. 3, is Allie generally at home this month? And yes. And Bob Money, B Money, all right, in Indiana, yes. Gull interest in chaos by design. So I think the people have been saying that, like, Gull's I think this is what he's saying, like, Gull's trying to, like, stir things up so that she can say, "You know what? All the spectators have caused issues, we're shutting it down." Maybe that's what, Cryptotax is referring to. Nanook, our dog, does not like it. He's over there whining.
so I'm assuming that our mods address the like if he's talking about like I'm not sure if you're talking about joining the chat or the channel. I'm assuming the channel. If like becoming a member, you can definitely still become a member. I don't think you can do it from your phone though. Like for I don't know. My hopefully my mods address that.
So Stephanie is asking, "What about the guy that spit on one of the girls?" And again, he
Can't
just
bring him
said,
up, Stephanie. Elvis Fields, we don't know. They don't
"But
like we
was
don't
his
know.
DNA found?" There seems there was a lot of things not checked, and we haven't heard. We had when the defense was asking, Richard Allen's DNA wasn't found here, Richard Allen's DNA wasn't found there. Did they establish whether or not somebody's DNA was found? Are there unknown samples?
Not that I'm aware of, but like
We haven't
we
gotten
I
to.
read you through the list of swabs they took. We haven't gotten to that witness
All
yet.
right. Heidi
Yes,
Bates.
they do. Yes, they do, Heidi. They definitely take and I think that we're gonna hear from the ME tomorrow. So if scrapings were taken, that's where it would have happened during the autopsy. So we'll know more once the autopsy
And
takes place.
Sandy D wants to know, do you know the evidence clerk? Was it someone from Carroll County?
I don't. Like, we have not gotten any kind of indication who that was. If
I
I
didn't.
were able to walk up into the well of the courtroom and look at exhibits, I could tell you who the evidence clerk was.
All right. And what about black sweatpants? Have we heard anything about black sweatpants? Have we heard anything about any sweatpants?
No, no
We've heard
sweatpants.
about jeans, both jeans.
I think what we heard is that she unwittingly, to Becky Patty had like got out of her sweats. Like the last time that Becky
Oh,
saw her
right.
in
Okay.
sweats,
So the
and then
family thought she
yeah,
left in sweats, but she had actually changed clothes before her grandmother didn't realize it.
right.
Um, and it was just jeans, just jeans. Um,
I don't know if a belly. I mean, I think if there's any kind of thought of SA taking place, I think the belly button would probably be swabbed
I mean,
because a
yeah.
lot of times, if there's an SA, the offender may release themselves on their victim's chest and or stomach area. So I would assume so.
And aspiring.
And we know that there were two SA kits done on each of the girls. So that
Okay.
was
And for aspiring court reporter, we don't know yet if there was anybody else's DNA
right. The
yet.
DNA stuff we don't know yet. It has not come up yet.
Okay.
We just know what was swabbed. We don't know any of the results.
My king of kings, why would he try to do anything after being interrupted? I agree. That's going to like what I had said earlier, which was like the state keeps saying he was interrupted. There was so much activity after this interruption. All right, I'm booting the dog up. Go through the questions.
Okay.
All the starred and their supers.
Okay. So thank you for the question, my King of Kings. Kay picked as Gull and the sister really think this case will hold on appeal. No idea. I really don't know. I've been trying to get into Gull's head for 2 years. I could not tell you, K pick. I do not know. Aspiring interrupted by whom? Right. Exactly. By like sound, like somebody made a sound. They're worried. I don't know. I don't know. Joe Schmo, could he phrase it? Would it be fair to say? I mean, yes, he could, but it's like the same, like it's all the same shit. So like, it's just crazy that she's nitpicking on them like that when those are just standard fare cross like openings and like salvos, like I always say correct at the end. Kraken question, are the sticks even wood from there? What do you mean, or they would? I don't understand the question, Kraken. Ask again if you're still here.
Wait. She means or he means, is it sticks from that area? Like, is it wood from that area?
Is she? Are the sticks even wood from there? Oh, from that area? We don't know. They didn't
I
take
think
them.
that
They didn't do any tests. Like, we don't
right.
know. Well, remember, one of them was supposed to be saw cut, so we have no idea. Like, I mean, theoretically, they could have brought a stick with them. That would be weird. Or they had a saw with them. Or the girls were taken from the scene. Like, I mean, they didn't do any kind of testing because remember, just remember this: the sticks have no evidentiary value, according to the law enforcement that handled this case.
So K-Dog 8173, thank you for the $5. She is a or he is a
Delphi resident for
right, no, I was
24
trying to see in
years.
the picture if it was a guy or girl.
Oh,
Delphi resident for 24 years. The news is not saying much. Following you guys till this is over. Prayers for all the family. Thank you.
well, thank you,
Thank
and I
you.
hope that you follow us after too. We're
And
pretty
Heidi wants to know, did you hear anything about any ligature marks?
no, 0. But
And uh,
let's keep remembering we have not heard the autopsy report yet, so we'll hear
mhm.
that. But we didn't see any pictures. They didn't take any photographs of an area they thought that might have ligature marks. So
Criminal Network asks, could Abby's arms have been tied to her body? We didn't see anything that speaks to that, although I did think it was possible, and I was asking Bob because I didn't see that the 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 piece of wood. I came late that day, so I only saw pictures after that first piece of wood, and I had asked you, was it like her hands, like she was holding on to that wood in before it was taken away, or looked like she was holding on to it, or
no, to me it looked like it was the board the sticks were placed on her body, not as if she was holding any of them.
but there was one that went horizontal up by her neck, right?
I think so.
So, do you know if the wood was over top of the
I don't know.
okay.
I
See, that's the
like I
downside to
could
not
not.
getting the close up of
Right,
no.
like, it's like I like, from seeing from my perspective, I just couldn't see it, so, like, once they take it down, it's gone, you know what I mean? It's like you can't
Yeah.
just it's a
Johannes Windleberry, thank you. Have they taken other suspects' DNA mentioned in the Franks to compare to that hair? If not, could they pull the trash?
all we know right now is that the only DNA that I know that they're currently testing is Kelsey German's
I
with
thought
Rose.
I thought the mother or the grandmother, someone also
All
said
I've heard is Kelsey's. That's
okay.
all I've heard.
So, when you say could they pull trash, I mean, if they is the defense, because the state could have a clear yes, the state could have done that if they wanted to. The state could have asked if they wanted to.
You
I
mean
don't
over the last 7 years?
right, right.
Mhm.
Um,
It's crazy.
I think the answer is yes, of course. Sounds to me, although I don't know
Anything
just
that it like,
that they
just
had no
anything you
interest in
guys
this.
put out to your curb, which they call the curtilage, is fair game. Like, no, like, anyone can come pick
They
your
did
shit.
it in the Koberger, right, with the
I do
father.
it all the time. I can come pick shit out of your garbage. Anybody can, if you put it out to your curb, you have no privacy interest in that garbage anymore.
So multi-Brad, read that, babe.
Okay, my college law professor took me to Nicaragua in the late 1980s during the summer, shattering my worldview. This case will either shatter your view of the judicial system, which is pretty shattered as it is, or make you heroes in my eyes. Thank you. Package for justice. Go Bears. Yeah, Bears.
All right, Sheba B.
And thank you
And
for your generosity, multi-bread. Appreciate
yes, Defense Diaries podcast. Do you think one person could do this?
it.
I
I
mean,
don't
in,
know.
I
Maybe. I don't know. It seems like it would be very difficult. Like
right.
if they did in fact cross the creek, I think it would be very, very difficult.
K-Pick, how long do you expect this trial to go?
3 to 4 weeks.
Thank
It
you, Benjamin Wyckoff. Best way forward is focus on inept investigation.
agreed completely.
Yep. Truth and transparency. Hi, and thank you. Bob, the notes are fierce, son.
Fire, fire,
Oh,
fire,
fire,
son.
son,
As I
as
bang
I
on the
bang on the
table. I'm gonna pick up reading. You're going a little too slow for my taste. I'm ready to go lay down. Thank you so much, Truth. Appreciate you. Elf Susie, was there DNA under the fingernails? TBD, to be determined. We'll find out when we get the autopsy with the medical examiner.
And thank you, nonsense fake Michael Osbrick, for your $5. We appreciate it.
Bobo and I are currently getting
It's
ripped off. It's not about justice, it's about internet clout. I don't know. Bobo slays these delusional ladies, but cheers.
I
All
was
right, thanks, man.
but I would like to know how offensive it is, like, you've got the ladies delusional? I mean, what's that mean?
Like, I don't know.
Like, I'm assuming those are, like, our viewers, the people that are watching us. So he's saying, like, you know,
The guys are smart, but all our
ladies are
female
delusional?
viewers are delusional.
I don't know.
Sounds like
I
you're
don't
real
know.
misogynist. Okay, JD, so are they not allowed to ask? Would you agree? Apparently not. Apparently not. Multi-brand comes back with $20 ice cream money for the kids and dog.
Yep.
Thank you for your time, passion, and great work. Thank
He's
you.
really I think I might let you answer the rest of these because the dog's really banging away up there. Oh, wow, this guy is too much. But
I'm
that I
creaming
shouldn't
for
have.
Gino's greens
No,
right now.
right. I mean, that's inappropriate.
I mean, the guy's, I mean, if he wants to pay $2 to say some
Can't
stupid.
wait for more Gacy content. Let's go.
Oh, Bear Jew. Love it.
Check your, oh, Sheba
Alley where the
defense.
girl's hair wet. Not that we know of.
I don't remember them saying that either one way or the other.
I don't either, but I don't like it seems if their hair was wet, they
Right,
would.
but I honestly, I don't remember
I
them
don't they didn't.
even raising it, like, hmm,
But what I'm saying is I think if their hair was wet, that they would have said it.
well, I think
I
they
mean,
should've.
it's definitely an assumption, but like I am assuming that if it was, that they would have. Okay, do we know? Oh, are they not asking these witnesses if the person they saw that day is in the courtroom? No. So no, like all three of the eyewitnesses, none of them made a positive identification of Richard Allen in that courtroom. Not only did they not make it, they were not asked by either side. Like I mean, I've done it in cases where when they don't ask, I've asked only because I knew that they looked at a six pack and they didn't ID my guy. Now I don't know if that happened in this case. I don't know
And
if
I don't know if they deposed. Do we know if they deposed these eyewitnesses? They deposed so many people. You would
I
think
know
they.
they deposed Betsy Blair.
Okay.
Okay.
Spitfire.
Do we
We
know if Abby was actually dating that one this guy's son? I
we've
mean,
got no clue,
it was like we don't know.
and it's
I mean,
not been.
it was stated that we do know that they saw each other 3 times, and that's out of Brad Holder's mouth, like on 3 separate occasions.
And
Like,
I don't wanna I appreciate the comment, Kelt, and I was just saying I don't wanna focus on the tattletale because I don't want people harassing
I
anybody
figured
in
out who it
my
was.
in my name for
I know
the.
who it was.
I know.
Benjamin Wickoff, $5. How the whole investigation is crazy. Yes. Brandy L.
It
Gray
doesn't matter.
Hughes asked about the seat. I told you guys about the seat. Kathy Allen, and frankly, Rick's mother both wanted me there to give him the straight dope. So I don't know how else to put it.
I have no idea if
And, like, I
George.
have to say this, like, I don't know anybody any explanation, especially not those 2 people. I'm doing that because like regular people are asking because if
Right, because our viewers
people
are asking.
ask me, if you guys ask me, I don't have anything to hide. I have 0 to hide. I'm
So
not working for the defense. I'm not a licensed attorney in Indiana. I couldn't work for the defense if I wanted to. And all of our content speaks for itself. It's that simple.
right.
Like
So
I don't know. Like I am learning
alright, we're
about the
moving on
evidence.
from it.
I'm learning about the evidence at the same time that you guys are, and that's it.
That
That's
is
it.
true,
Like
right.
that is it.
So Brandy, I don't have any idea if the jurors
Babe, I got to
recognize.
read through these. You're going way too
Wait,
slow.
I just want to say an answer here. But I do notice the one juror,
Three
he
hours.
looks
Like Darren's trying to turn these into things, and he sent me a text today. He's like, "You
he's
went 4 hours last night."
he's not using any of this. He's not using any of this
I'm
once we
just
get to the
saying,
questions.
like, it was already 2 hours and 40 minutes going into it. Like, we need to truncate them. We got to try to trim them down to an hour and a half. That's got to be our goal.
Alright, well, good
I
luck,
think
and
you should
now
tell them your new exciting idea how we're going to do that.
I'm gonna answer this question, and then maybe I will. So there's this one juror that I often see when there's a lull and the testimony's kinda boring, looking out and scanning the gallery, and focusing a lot on the family, and I think it's because they see Richard Allen looking back that way often. And now that Bob has raised, what we were thinking about doing is that Bob shares his notes with me, and I go live in the afternoon with y'all, and
With the
then
first, yeah, with the morning session, and then I'll come back and do the nights. That would be awesome. Allie came up with an amazing idea. I was super excited about it because this is
what
rough. Like this is like I want to do this, but I've been all day, like up since 7, and then coming and doing like a 3-hour live. And it's important for us that you guys all get the information. So I think if Allie's willing to do it, I think that would like
tomorrow I've got
I
court in
really
the
can't
afternoon,
take.
so
I just have
not
to take.
it's not happening tomorrow.
I'll have
All right,
power
so
through.
Crankin wants to know,
Crap
what Kraken.
question, but what did we hear before he manipulated the audio? It's hard to say.
I mean, I
Like
think it's
I
fair to assume what's in the audio is in the audio, that he just cleaned it up.
I mean, I guess.
Mhm.
It's not, it's weird to me. I'm never gonna be able to make it make sense that that guy that was that far away, that the phone, a iPhone 6 picked up that guy's voice from that far away. I'm just not like, and there's no way he closed that gap in that amount of time. Zero chance of it.
Well,
Need
and
him
it sounds like the girls were already looking about trying to go down there. They were already talking about it and the gravel and but there's like she mentioned something about getting down there or going down there.
Yeah. All right, need a mega pint. Thank you both so much for covering this. Our true eyes and ears in the courtroom. We try our best. Johannes Winberry, $5 holler. Appreciate you again. Will the FBI folks who believed Odinism could be involved be called by the stand by the defense? Nope.
Not as of
Sorry
now,
for all
unless
the
the judge
sorry for all the
changes
piggyback.
her. She made a preliminary opinion ruling. She'd have to change it. Thank you,
Jason,
Jason
yes, welcome. Oh,
McClellan
family hug. Linda
de Casal.
Ocasale. Thank you for the coverage. Were CVS employees interviewed regarding RA behavior, demeanor when he processed photos for Libby for the family for the funeral and gave it to him for free?
Good question. We don't know. That'd
I don't know.
be interesting to know, though, for
I
sure.
mean, the only thing I've heard nothing negative, but for one Walmart employee, I thought and honestly, I'm not even saying this in jest, that said that she thought he farted at work. Well, there's been nothing like weird or negative about him. Like I swear it was some kind of really weird
Thank you,
story
Crystal
about
O'Neill.
yeah, towards $5 holla, towards clip on the mic. I have it. I'm just not home, Crystal. I'm staying in an Airbnb. I've got my mic. I don't have all my gear in Indiana.
Sherry Presley, thank you
Thank
very much. $50 holla.
Wow, this whole case is so suspect. Thank you for educating us. The defense lawyers are here to defend our Constitution just as much as prosecutors. Prosecutors do not defend the Constitution. That's not what they do. They put people in jail. They are the government. That's the lesson. Remember that. It's like that. That's a very important distinction. Defense attorneys are the only ones who defend the Constitution. Now they have to follow the Constitution. They're sworn as an attorney to uphold the Constitution, but in terms of defending it,
And
it's
they
the
prosecute
people
people for crimes they commit.
and it's the people that are in the profession that have the word defense in their name are the ones that defend the Constitution. Thank you so
Although
much for that.
every wrongfully convicted case I learn about makes me question prosecutors more than I ever have. It's a sad state of affairs, Sherry. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, I missed that last part.
Yep.
Oh, good. Thank you. I'm glad you're questioning them. You should. Okay, the chronic illness diaries. Question: why do you think they have no defensive wounds? It's like they didn't know or were unconscious. True, or it just happened so fast that, or from behind even.
It doesn't
Like
seem that way. They crossed the bridge. They got under. I don't know. Who
I'm
knows?
talking about at the end, like
Oh,
how it ends
oh,
up, and
yeah.
I mean, I don't.
All right, you
We'll
gotta
find
check
out
out
more.
Venmo. Well, I'll go through this and see what Gretchy Mama
My
asked.
phone's dead. I'll
Um,
check it.
wait, I
Gretchen,
can. You go on. I'll check. You go on.
I've been pretty good about commenting and thanking you guys on the actual Venmo app because we love Venmo. So thank you, Gretchen. We appreciate you so much. K Dog, another $2. for the good puppy you got. Rub that belly always. We love to rub his belly.
All right. So she said she sent us $50 and she said tissues for Allie after Bob yelling about the
The hammer. I'm sure it's the hammer.
yes, the hammer.
The hammer. The hammer was a lot of hammer.
I
Actually,
know. I knew that there would be a lot of people that didn't like it, but you know what? I was on a thing with it, so you got
yeah,
it.
you were on one.
I was on one.
Jake
But thank you
Utzad.
very much, Gretchen Mama.
Yes, so much. That's so generous. Jake, $2 holiday. You think they're on pace to hit the end date? Yes, I do. I think they're going
And
to
I
finish
was rubbing that
4.
dog's belly, by the way.
Afton, always giver, Wonder Mod, gifted 1 DD. Appreciate you. Tasha, thank you both. The Mudblood PRs should be on the cam. I would think so. JD, last but not least, we appreciate you. All right, quit tapping it, babe. I'm sure these days are exhausting. I'm sure that Gull is pushing for chaos. I appreciate y'all keeping your cool with integrity and not stirring the pot. Of course, I'm not a pot stirrer. It's not what I do.
I'll
Like
stir some pots. Just kidding.
I
Much
conduct
love
no
to y'all.
business,
Stay strong.
and I
I'll
do.
let you say goodbye without me because Nook is going crazy. Love you all. See you
All right, you
tomorrow,
guys
maybe.
are amazing. We were 1,600 strong tonight. Please make sure you share, subscribe, like on the way out. Share, subscribe, like, tell your friends, tell your neighbors. We think we're a pretty good channel. You get to see Allie and I kind of like in our natural element. Like there's no fake shit with us. Like we're, it's like we are who we are, and we love hanging with you guys, and hopefully you like us because we like you an awful lot. To my mods, thank you so much for your incredible hard work, all of you. Thank you to all of you generous folks out there that are supporting the show. It really, I'm not gonna lie, it really is what inspires me to keep doing this because I have to tell you, like getting out there and like I've got a seat. Like I truly feel bad for my friends that are having to stand in that line because it's brutal. It's brutal. I don't like that Andrea's having to stand in that line, and if I can do anything about it, I'm going to. Same with Lawyer Lee. I do not like that they're having to do that. I think it's bullshit. They're important voices, and so I'm not happy about it. But like, even with me being able to sleep in longer, I don't know how they're doing it. It's brutal. It's brutal. Like, and like they had like today they went to go eat lunch because there was nobody waiting to get in. Like otherwise, if there'd been people waiting to get in, people are like dipping. They're just dipping. So, um, it's like today they were able to actually go out and eat. Can you imagine standing out there all night, sitting in there, and then not being able to leave to go even eat? Like I insisted yesterday that Andrea go. I'm like, I'm gonna stand in line, and your ass is gonna go eat. Like I'm gonna hold your place. And so thankfully she went. I don't think she went and got food. She just wanted to get some fresh air. But all right, so you guys are amazing. I love you all. Make sure you're checking out the Twitter, defense_diaries. It's where I give my first updates. I'm gonna really try to talk Allie into doing the afternoon update when I can scan my notes to her. Hopefully she'll be able to read them. You guys saw that struggle bus the first time. Maybe we should get better at it. Or maybe Nicole will be kind enough to try to transcribe for us. She is a hero like that. But so again, mods, love you. You guys, I love you. I will see you tomorrow, probably around the same bat time, same bat channel. You guys rock because without y'all, I'm just an old man talking about a whole bunch of cases. Talk.